Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Brick Something News. I am Brick Something, and to my left, that's the left, is Dee Miller from ANR. Look at that, Dee at ANR, aka dvon.art over on IG, talented toy customizer and co-host of the ANR Geekly, formerly the ANR Weekly, over on the Astonishing News and Reviews. Did I get that right?
You did. I don't have to say anything about that anymore because you just did it for me. Thank you.
What's up, Dee? Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. I was telling you earlier that I rarely go on lives. I have another show to go on, hopefully later on this month. But I appreciate you inviting me on here too, because I'm a quiet dude. So,
well, yeah, I rarely go on lives. You're on every Monday night.
No, I know, like I've been one and done, but.
One and done for 52 weeks a year, except when Elvin is traveling.
Exactly.
No, I love what you do over there. I was telling you that it started like for me, I found ANR through Elvin was actually on Toy Migos a while back, and they were doing a giveaway in support for oh my gosh, who was it that was sick? 80s Baby. And they did this sort of like giveaway, and I won it, and I was like, oh crap. And so started following. I was watching like the Saturday morning sort of like cartoon thing for a bit, and then realized, oh, they've got a bunch of other shows. So what you guys do on Monday is definitely more like my alley, obviously, because we talk toys and stuff.
It's like the post news, because I think everyone else, there's other shows that we watch. There's yours. There's Highly Posable, Highly Articulated. A bunch of other guys come on throughout the week. So
I mean, there's so much news though. Like, plus you guys do like real nerdy, like look at other nerdy stuff. What you saw, what we got. What we saw, what we learned.
What we got, what we watched.
What we got, what we watched.
Skip the dad joke stuff because that's his thing.
You know what? Let's do a dad joke.
I don't have any. You can do it.
I have one, and people are going to judge me for the kind of dad I am after I say this joke, because this joke was told to be by my 11-year-old son.
Okay, well now we can't judge you because you just said it was from an 11-year-old.
Well,
I'm not going to be too harsh now. Wait
for it. Okay. Here we go. I don't have the little thing that says dad joke. Whatever. This is the thing that they do. You should watch their show on Mondays. I'm such a nerd that I enjoy that part of the show. I always go back and watch that first and come back. But here's the joke. He says, my kid says to me, again, 11 years old, hey, Papa, did you hear the one about, sorry, did you hear the one about the guy who dips his balls in glitter?
No.
Pretty nuts.
I feel like I was trying to figure out where that was going, and I knew it was too.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
The reason the judging wasn't the joke. The judging is, why is he hearing his 11-year-old son tell him jokes like that? It was totally out of nowhere. It was totally uncharacteristic.
Clearly he learned it at school.
It was actually online.
Oh, okay.
So that's where folks can judge me for my parenting. But it was like one of those, he like watches like random people on whatever. And so I saw it. He showed it to me. I was like, hey, can I see where you saw that? It was totally like kiddie, like jokey stuff, but there was that humor. Anyways, what does this 48-year-old man then do with that joke? Immediately I say, hey, can I film you saying that joke again so I can send it to your uncle? Who then pursued.
That was a pretty good joke for I'll give him points.
Okay, sorry. The chat is like, what the hell? We are talking toys, toy rubber balls, dipping them in glitter, and they're really cute. Okay, So, anyways, that's the thing that Dee does every.
I don't do
Monday.
that.
His co-host does it at the start of every show, and you get to judge.
Usually from me, they're all fails, but.
But anyway, I've learned a couple great ones. I laugh. Yes, oftentimes they're silly. But hey, I enjoy your show. And both of you are toy collectors up in BC, up north.
That's correct.
I'm on the West Coast. You're on the West Coast. I will tell you right now, I have my exit strategy, and I found out that as far as asylum goes, I can file for asylum if needed to go hang out with you all, and we can go shopping at Toy Traders. And
there's a few out here now. So
ages 3 and up.
We'll just do a circuit. Yeah, them too.
Okay, beautiful. Yes, and I know you know Toy Connections, Ken, right? Or you guys know of each other? Maybe not.
Ken Po?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you muted there for a second. Yes, Ken Po. So like he's the one who kind of took me around to different toy shops when I was there. Anyways, I love
toy show. He's a very nice guy.
Oh, super nice. And I generally love the vibe. It actually up there kind of reminds me of the Bay Area in many ways. So I'm half kidding about the escape plan.
Half kidding.
Half kidding. Anyway, again, thank you, man. Thanks for joining. We'll talk toys and nerdy things. Folks should check out ANR. We'll talk more about that, but we're also going to talk a little bit about Dee's customizing work because he's pretty prolific and very focused. You should be making DC action figures.
I think so.
I'll just say that.
That's nice of you.
No, man, come on. What you're doing is, anyways, you know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Let's see who's in the chat first. What's going on, Kenzo? Well, hello there. Congrats to you two for hitting 1,000, man. As I've told you before, I love when good people are doing well on YouTube. Go check out Kenzo's creations. Gabriel, hola, senor. Happy Sunday, Brick and chat. Larry's Geeky World is here. Love it. Christopher Bouchard, hello there. Chris, are you up BC? I don't know. There's a lot of like cool Canadian folks that I met through, mainly Adam and Ken. Ray Paz, Sergio. That was real triggering. That's my real name. And kids chased me around in the first grade. You're definitely not old enough for this, but there used to be this jeans brand called Sergio Valente. And there was that song, Sergio. And literally, I remember one day being tortured. They're teasing me. I try to get away, and they chase me.
It's funny
around.
what kids consider insults, because I was just like, hey, sweet, I get a theme song. I don't understand what the problem is here.
And I wasn't insulted. I was just like I didn't like the attention is what it was. But anyway, so then I decided to start a YouTube channel. Let's see. Folks are already like talking about, here, check it out. Folks are already talking about what we're going to talk about in terms of the Kickstarter. But look at what Ray Paz says. What's up, Ray? Whoever made that sunspot looks dope. That would be dvon.art, Dee Miller. Look at that. Sunspot was one of my favorites. I'm old school, so I love the old yellow and black uniforms era. But that was a good era too. What was Rainfire? Was that like sort of right after he went into that little Rainfire moment?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, he's
had so many looks too, and then the bandana one where he's like,
yes. Oh, the 90s. Seth, what's up? Amateur Hour. Hey. Figuratively speaking, John, I haven't seen you in a bit, man. Good to see you. This person I have seen regularly on your channel, and I've always sort of wondered who is said YouTube user.
Another local.
I love it. I love the original name.
Big into Transformers and imports.
Maybe Motu too.
Yes. Yes. There you go. Yeah, Motu.
Hey, look, there you go. What were they? What are the options?
Sad or Dad. He might get a prize now because of me smile. That was the catch on our show. If I laugh, you get entered into a draw for a prize. And I kind of half smiled, so I'll throw him into the draw just for that.
Oh, my kid's delivery was better. John agrees. Okay, good. So I know you're a dad too, and thank you for not judging my son. So see, people appreciate it. All right, what's up? KJ Smith is here. Sup, Brick, sup, peeps. And he says, Hey, yo, D, you sexy Canadian son of a bitch.
We were that's who I'm supposed to go and on those guys show
Nice.
mid February. Hopefully, we're trying to sort things up. He's another
Nice.
sweet talker who got me on. So
it's a Friday night, yeah.
Yeah.
Highly posable. Go check them out. Whale and KJ and a bunch of folks. See, this is the person who I sent the video to after.
Uncle approved. Oh, there
Uncle
it is.
Approved. Yeah, dude. What is he? See, he changed his thing, and at first I thought it was that Star Wars Jedi who, like, for some reason everyone fell in love with because he was like in the background of Phantom Menace and he looked cool with the dreadlocks.
Oh, anyway. I don't even remember his name.
Right. Who survived Order 66. And
he looks cool and he's a survivor. That's all that is.
But even better, that's his custom from dude from Predator.
Oh.
Literally Action Figs. What's up? Oh, duh. I totally thought he was Canada. He's in Atlanta, GA. What's up? I hope you enjoyed the snow. Georgia got some snow. Crazy. Quip, what's going on?
Was he on last week?
Quip was on last Sunday.
Yes, okay.
Yes. And Nolan, what's going on? I believe East Coast to your nation. And thank you, everybody, for coming through. Nolan, please send my regards to Ray. I accidentally blocked her on a stream where I was a moderator. Didn't mean to. I clicked the wrong thing.
Finger slipped.
Yes. Anyway, D, let's talk toys for a second. And let me go ahead and let folks know that as the way I do things here, so with the Needless Ephemera We Saw, it's not actually news. It's like, basically, this is a fancy way of saying random BS that we want to talk about because we're nerds.
Fantastic.
And get excited.
Fantastic.
So as we're talking, normally Thanos Copter, who is here today, would be dropping in the links. But I just realized I didn't drop the links on the doc that he's used to. But I will put the links in as we go through for the live folks. And at the bottom, you'll see that URL that just sort of went by real fast. But then also over by Dee's left shoulder on that dope all over print jacket, by the way. That QR code will take you to the links after the show. But I messed up last week. Apparently, I, for some reason, didn't upload the links from Quip. And so I'll get it done tonight. But real quick, man, I asked you about that jacket because I was like, what is that? Is it weird to show it off? Look at that.
My movie print jacket.
Yeah.
Nice. I love the turtles. You could kind of see more behind me there.
Yeah, man.
I told you I put this on for you. I dressed up a little bit for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I was commenting right before we started. I was like, man, did you clean up the background? And I'm honored. So
by clean up, I just pushed everything off to that side.
Yeah, I'm 100% aware here. I'll share that. Like, I was sharing this last night. Everything looks so professional, and then there's this garbage.
That's okay. Now I don't feel so bad.
So you're like the third hardcore Turtles fan here, and the sad thing is, I'm like so Turtle weak these days. I was old enough to see that movie in the theater, though.
Are you? Is it oversaturation or what?
No, it's just that like my collecting is, like I'm getting these weirdo, like not weirdo. I was going to say weirdo animals, but that's basically what the turtles are. Yeah. But like, these like new IPs, I'm really excited by kind of what's happening in sort of the idea of new IP for the future, like whether it's AWOC or Mythic Legions or all this stuff coming. Like I just got these random but awesome like Chinese ghosts that came in. That like they're not really from anything, but like when did we have Chinese ghosts? Yeah, like when did we get that stuff? Yeah, you watch a lot of sort of like anime and stuff out of so you're familiar with this kind of just sort of creatures, right?
Yeah, I'm getting back into it.
Yeah,
I've been I'm waiting for that Sun Wukong off 5K off a lot of places.
I was gonna say, which one is it? The Rage Fury one? He looks a little cartoony.
Yeah,
light up eyes.
And you knew exactly which one I was talking about based on what I get.
Yeah. And I've been watching you guys.
So where did you grab those ghosts?
5K.
Okay.
$30 each. They run a little smaller. Like I'm assuming they're meant to be smaller, but they're a pair. So I guess in China, there is a sort of spirit / demon called Wang Liang. So that starting from here on down.
Yeah.
But they've sort of split them into two characters. So you've got Wang and you've got Liang, and they're ridiculously cool. They move really well, and they come with 2 maps that are like split in half, and you can combine them. Anyways, just dorky things. But
that's the best part. Stuff, the accessories sometimes the best part.
Yes. But that's a kind of like nerdy thing that I'm into right now, or like I'm geeking out on what's available to us. So that means I actually don't do, even though I grew up with G.I. Joe, I grew up with Star Wars toys in the house. I don't get a whole lot of them. Every now and then I'll get little bits and pieces of stuff to rep. I don't have any turtles. I got like Mutagen Man from Super 7 and the Master from which is basically Splinter from that same company who's doing that Wukong that you're getting. They do like the autumn, spring.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I have them.
Yeah, you got them.
Yeah.
And so those are my only turtle stuff, but I'm waiting, and I might bite on the Medi Toys one. So
how big are Ray Paz is saying he's wondering the scale for your ghosts.
I'll share them. I will share them soon. And yes, for sure. And for the channel members, I did sort of do this sort of whole unboxing of what I got, and they're shown there. But they stand just maybe like a little bit under Allegiance. So anyway, that's what I'm into. What about you? Just for context, I always ask the guests to like kind of share a little bit about the kind of stuff that you're collecting and maybe anything that you have either picked up or you're just having a lot of fun with at the moment.
Oh man, I'm all over the place. So I just got him.
Yes.
So I pre-ordered Leo and got him, and then they staggered the release dates for these for so long that they have been revealing, I wouldn't say better, but alternative turtles. Like the Mezco I got, they came out after
from other
I started
companies.
these. And then the new 112 scale looking ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I forgot what line that is. Actually, I think they're actual licensed IP ones. The
Medi Toys?
No, Ling Chuan.
I'm sorry, Li Jing Hung is,
yeah, there we go.
Which is the legit name of the company who does stuff as the company known as Medi Toys. But they do the Medi Toys for things like the Warcraft figures that aren't licensed.
Yes. And then they got the license to this, so they're using their official name.
Yeah.
I had to like think about that for a minute.
Yeah, it's wild, but I don't know. Pirates. One Piece taught me that pirates are cool. But so what other stuff are you, so like I know you do a lot of comic book stuff as well, and that kind of inspires your work as a customizer,
mostly, like 100, like I'd say 90%. Or when someone asks me, can you make this guy, just to see if I can do it, it's a comic book character, which I don't mind. I love comic books. Third party stuff, like I got this Tosin Art Bojack Trunks. There was a period where I just stopped caring about Dragon Ball, not because I thought it was bad, like I'm not going to insult it. There's a lot of Dragon Ball figures to collect.
Right.
And then it pulled me back in. So I got him. Those video game characters count too. So I did get him off AliExpress.
Yeah, and I know. Yes, that figure, man. That one's been a fun ride for people.
I tried it the legit way, and it just didn't work out. So like, you know what? If I wait, I will not see this thing.
Yeah.
So
smart move, sir. All right. Well, we'll talk more about the stuff that you've gotten. But I'm curious because I asked you, hey, are there stuff that you like could share? And you're mentioning that you've got a lot in terms of recent pickups. You said a lot of it's pre-orders, right? What are maybe like the top 2 that you're looking forward to the most?
I want that Sun Wukong like so bad.
Yeah.
I just don't know when. I haven't seen any updates on it.
Okay.
Like at all. And then I'm curious to see. I didn't pre-order Raphael because he's not out yet, but I'm still curious to see how they finish off these.
But you're going to complete them, right?
I have to at this point.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people kind of being a little bit regretful because of the size, but I think they're really cool looking.
They're desk toys. I do regret like I wish they were bigger. I'm not gonna lie, but they're still nice.
Okay. Yeah. But
The
you don't
downside
collect
is,
like NECA and all that other stuff? Any
oh,
other
don't get me
turtles?
started on that. So NECA Turtles, I'm done with, I would say. I did the
But
movie.
when you say I'm done, how far were you before you decided you were done?
I did. That's a good point. Don't judge me. I
I'm not
passed on,
judging.
surprisingly, I passed on the Toon Turtle stuff. There's just too many I foresaw coming. So I'm like, I'm not doing it. Last Ronin I picked up. I want to complete the 4 brothers of those.
Okay.
The movie ones, I do have one legitimate classic Michelangelo. Back before I was a true collector, I saw one at the on my comic book shop's wall.
Yeah.
Like I'll get the rest later. I just get
Those
my
are
favorite
great figures,
yeah.
man. Especially if you love that movie, like you're literally, I feel like you're just pulling them off the screen.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they move or whatever. Okay, so I asked you like, oh,
There's gargoyles there too. Gargoyles
I was gonna
count.
say
There's NECA.
you were talking about turtles there for quite a bit. So like you've done NECA and now you're doing this other thing.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of legends. There's a bunch of random stuff.
Okay,
Spider-Man.
dude, that's rad.
Spider-Man's my favorite character. So on my Spidey shelf.
This is for Ray, who's really curious. I did open them up. I opened them on the Clubhouse last night over on Oz. They're a pair, so I kind of like have them kind of chilling. You know, I think they're kind of cool together. Real quick, because Ray asked, this is basically a Legion's figure with an AWOC head, and you can kind of see some size comparisons. And yesterday, people were like saying, "Oh yeah, they're kind of small." Like I'm like,
how big are they supposed to be in theory?
Well, that's the thing. Like all the demons I hang out with are real small, so
they're like hunched over and like crawl. Like you could get away with whatever, right?
Exactly. That's how I play 2D. Like I don't like you're saying like I'm all over the place, man. I feel like we could Rochambeau for who's more all over the place. Anyway, as far as like that's, I think that the Sun Wukong's dope to get in, but you've been waiting for how long?
I don't even remember when the pre-orders went up. I feel like it's been over a year and a half, almost. I can't say 100%, but
is that normal, do you think, these days for you? And how do you generally feel about, because that's something I did want to talk about and kind of mention to you. It's like I've been thinking a lot about like what people's thresholds are for how long they can wait when they pre-order. What generally, like, when do you start to get pissed off?
Okay.
Or annoyed?
If I paid in full, then I get freaked out faster than usual.
Sure.
A deposit, not so much, but I still do because I put a deposit down. But there are places like ages 3 and up where you just pay later.
Mm-hmm.
And I never worry about them because either I get my item or I lose. Not like the most I'll get is annoyed because I won't lose money. Once it reaches the year mark without an update, then I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? Like, is this a factory issue? Is there problems with licensing? Did you get like I don't know what's going on anymore. And I feel if you're transparent, then I won't be as bothered. Just like, hey, there's an issue with the factory, or hey, there's plastic problems, there's degrading, like whatever. Just be upfront with your customers. So I can't be too mad when people are open and honest.
Right.
I think you're more into the toy world than I am. Do you feel like there's a downside to being too transparent? Would that backfire at all?
Yeah, that's a good question, because that's where I was at. So as folks know, that I've been working pretty closely with Spiro, with just in general, like Adam and I from Highly Articulated do this thing called AWOC Talk, where we talk about the brand, mainly because like we started that because we didn't feel like anyone was talking about it, and we were both excited about these things. Like, check it out. And then through that, kind of connected with Jason of Spiro. Adam now technically on payroll, payroll, but he does stuff he helps with logistics and stuff. I have my name on the bottom of the latest figures, but like,
oh, do you?
There's no money exchange except for maybe full disclosure, them paying for me to fly out to Legion's Con, which I still have to bill them. So it's nothing, it's honestly, it's like, it's largely, it's for the love. Like anyway, so there's that. And I'm basically a sucker, but I've got like a full-time job. I'm not interested in another job. But because of that, every Wednesday I do the updates for the here, let's go there. Every Wednesday I do the updates for the Kickstarter. And so part of that is this past 2 weeks, we've been sharing exactly what you're saying, like trying our best to be as transparent about shifts in production, etc. So like every week now, we're going to be sharing, and I'll skip down here while we're here for the folks. Here's some news. We posted a video of like Jason kind of going through some parts that he got at the factory, which is kind of cool. But that speaks, I will say, here actually for context, I'll sort of pop it up here. And it's, it's him kind of walking through like some parts that he got from the factory and sort of sharing progress and stuff like, oh, here's one of the figures and here's some parts.
If you show me stuff like this, how could I possibly be upset? Like I see things in motion.
Right. Yeah. So that's funny because I wasn't sure how things would land. And I know Jason gets real nervous, a little bit nervous too, because he's like, oh man, he doesn't, he wants people to be happy. He wants fans to be happy and excited. And he's not trying to like take away from that when the realities of, oh, we needed to resize this figure, or this file wasn't right, or, of course, Chinese New Year. And initially we had planned for this. So like, he feels that way more than I do, obviously, because it's his company. But so he shared this and I was like, this is great. Like, this is the kind of stuff where maybe he'll film in the past, but never do anything with it. So that's where like, myself and Adam are like, hey, dude, we should be sharing this kind of stuff. And so now he's like doing it on the regular. And it's exactly to your point. Folks have responded in the way that they're basically saying like, hey, man, keep up sharing this info and we're good. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate your brand of like the way you're sort of talking about it. Not everybody's like you guys. Like
I have to realize that too. Yeah. Like even if you showed them and told them straight up, hey, it's delayed because of XYZ, they'll freak out still. Yeah. Like at that point though, you did everything in your power as a business representative to let the consumer know what the problem is. So
that's exactly the thinking, at least. And that was like, I actually, so we were doing this weekly, and then Thanksgiving hit in the US. I traveled, and basically from there throughout the December holiday, I needed to just pause on helping out with this stuff. So we hadn't updated in like 60 days. So I was like, okay, here's the deal. Let's do as big an update where we can spell things out for you. And that's where these things, like we put out this, oh, and I should share links. I keep forgetting. The timeline, which I did share with folks before, and there's a video on it on the channel, but it kind of breaks down like here, this is when you can expect wave 1, wave 2. I worked with Jason on this. He, he gave me the first draft, and I was like, ooh, we could spell this out a little bit more. There were some typos, but we put that rough draft on, and we're like, okay, let's clean it up. This is what we shared. Hopefully this is like what you're saying. It shows movement and like there's intention. But to be fair, where it says here, like, oh, this is coming in summer 20, the initial Kickstarter said fall of 2024, I think, or something like, or winter of 2024. So it's like,
you have to understand though, things change too. Like, especially when dealing with toys, I've learned that it can't be set in stone.
Yes. I have too. It just, sometimes people, and rightfully so, they wonder, well, dude, if you know that things can't be set in stone, why don't you just, tell us that it's going to come much later? And I don't know. I'm sure I don't have an answer.
TBD makes people angry as well. So it doesn't really matter what you would have done.
Fair enough. Dude, look at you being all rational.
I don't know. Maybe that's my problem. I'm just too.
I'm the exact same way, but I appreciate, like what you said, I appreciate folks communicating. So all of this, is like all the figures that have come out, and then it kind of breaks down. So thank you. I think that's really helpful to kind of hear your perspective. You're right. Like if I paid money up front, it's a different situation from a deposit or just like a BBTS.
Yeah,
I'll pay when it ships. Then it's like, why are you complaining, right? Granted, these are folks who kickstarted, and so we want to be transparent as much as possible. So there. But that said, folks like Ray, like they've been waiting for certain things, and they look at that and they're like, man, like it's a bummer that things are pushed back. But Ray's also like, but take the time you need. He said this before, like he understands, like, yeah, stuff is gonna wait.
Well, because it's gonna be quality. I thought I had one here. I had the one you convinced me to get is the A-Tray. Like you told me to get one
But
on
I
a
did.
whim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you told me to get one on a
AWOC
whim,
stuff.
and I did get one,
Good.
and I'm very happy. I know because you're like, oh, you could paint it up or do it. I want to. I'm gonna leave him pristine. Like there's something about a pristine toy. This takes me back to being a kid.
Okay.
I like everything about this.
Okay. Yeah, other folks, Alan Vine Jungle Figure Factory. Man, that's a mouthful. The more info, the better. So yeah, I think folks are feeling like the idea of like sharing stuff.
You can't rush
So,
perfection. That's my mindset.
And they are good. Like I stand by the product, which is why I was like, hey, Dee, just check these out. And you know, so you can see the movement, the articulation.
You always saw my mouse hovering over or me talking about them all the time. So like, just get one. I'm like, you know what? I just needed that. I just needed that push.
Yeah. So other folks are into the Chinese ghosts. Oh, sorry. And I missed your comment earlier. I didn't bring it up, YouTube. But yes, I do like Lego, hence the brick thing. But yes, I will definitely bring up those Chinese Ghost Wang and Liang because that's how we do things. Let's see. It's by Keep Going is the name of the company. One word, Keep Going. I shared this like lobster creature and shrimp creature. I don't know if you've seen those. I feel like maybe you might have shared those on your show, but it was those that made me want to research the company more. And then I also got this. Are you a Naruto guy?
Oh man. I would be a poser, but I do like Naruto.
Okay. I am not. I don't know anything, just so you know,
Okay.
so I wouldn't be able to judge you.
Okay.
But only because apparently this looks like a character from there, but they've kind of taken liberties and done their own things with it too. And it's also sort of based on, I guess, another sort of Chinese ghost. But so I've was doing a little research, found a cool company, and that's kind of how I do things. What's going on, Allison? As far as those demons go, Gady's Toys would like folks to know that his demons just tell him to burn things. They told me to burn things, so he does. And what's up, Brian Carr? Thanks for hanging out. Awesome. Enjoy them, Ray. They're awesome. They're great. Hey, NYC Figure Fanatic. What's up, everyone? I'm happy that you're here. I'm glad that Papa Life gave you some time off to hang out. Anyway, other folks who've jumped in, we've got Skew Raider, we've got Solo Sinner. Thank you all for hanging out. All right. So anyway, you heard my piece about AWOC and that idea. So you're absolutely right. As someone who's involved in it a little bit more than the average consumer, I do wonder about like that. And I do like how much is too much information. That's a conversation we have all the time.
You have to overthink.
Yeah.
That's your curse.
Yeah. It is.
No matter what no matter what you do, it's going to be wrong to someone. So you just have to remind yourself, like, judgment calls, right?
Yep. All right. But I will say, like a lot of what we do is because of these guys. Because I think for Horsemen, I collect Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, and Figure Obscura. And when I say collect, I want to be clear because sometimes people talk about being completist and collection and stuff. I like buy what I like from the lines or what I can actually reasonably sort of afford or have space for. Like, so I'm by no means a completist on anything, but this is one of those lines that I buy from regularly because I like their stuff. Do you at all you don't really mess with this stuff too much at all, but
I think Cosmic Legions are one of the most beautiful figures I've ever seen. I just cannot do it. Like,
yeah.
It's one of those things.
Fear of I think that's smart. I think if you just handle them every now and then, they're cool. But that said, the company, we're always talking behind the scenes with Jason. I was like, man, do you see how they're doing that? Like, let's be mindful of that. Cause I really feel like the Four Horsemen, as far as their marketing and how they communicate things and how they plan things out and how they work with their fan base, are real good at that, like being transparent and clear. This is sort of their version of they've got so many things in play in terms of, they have 3 different lines. Actually, that's not true. they started before November. They had 3 lines: Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, and then Figure Obscura. Mythic Legions celebrating their 10-year anniversary. Then at G-Con in November, which is basically the days before Legions Con, they unveiled their new stuff and said, hey, we're doing basically a couple new small lines as well, where they're doing like collabs with, using Mythic Legion's parts. So now they've effectively got all these things, and somehow that has to fit in their schedule, right? And they have to figure out ways to communicate it. And they're like, for my money, like masterful when it comes to communicating with folks and, you know, finding the best way to keep things concise and quick. And it's just funny to me. It's interesting because I hear people get upset about like delays or time. But this fan base, even though there are folks who are definitely, you know, disgruntled that sometimes things get delayed, like, well, give me a concrete example. This wave right here, this Mythic Legions Necronominus that's in containers at the port here in the United States, like that, this was like a couple of days ago. Like that was solicited or previewed November of 2022. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But people are like, there's genuine excitement from the fan base. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. These are going to be great. A lot of that also is because they have a track record and they have for standards and quality. So I just
track record is also good to have. Like, I feel like if you release a few waves, people will give you the benefit of the doubt when things are delayed.
Right.
And I feel like this company has earned that. Is that the right word? Like they could be like, hey, this is going to be delayed. I'm sorry, and people will just be like, all right, fine.
Yep.
They'll be upset, but they'll accept it.
Yeah, you and I are rational beings. I don't want to generalize, but I will say that a lot of Canadian collectors that I've met tend to be on the more rational side of things. Maybe I'm not seeing enough.
Sometimes, if you hang around the store, a few will come in.
Okay.
And throw a fit, especially on our made-up Boxing Day holiday. So.
Well, maybe it's what's interesting to me is the Canadian folks on ToyTube, if you will.
Yeah.
Tend to be a little bit more on the balance and rational side. But that's just me. But maybe I'm just an unpatriotic hater or something.
It's all their syrup that makes us nicer.
Anyway, I love this stuff. I'm excited for what's coming. It's a trip to me though, because if you really stop to break down how much product they have flowing in, and like this is just the stuff that's incoming. They've pre-ordered stuff that's like 3 or 4. That would basically be like 3 or 4 new lines under this. So anyway, more power to them. I hope people can be patient, but I recognize I get it. Like the game has shifted. Long gone are the days where you like go hunting in a store to find the toy you want. Now it's like you click and you wait.
You have to, otherwise you won't get it sometimes. I miss the days of hunting.
Yeah. And then people like you and me will be on talking about it incessantly about like the toy for like years, and then eventually they'll show up. So anyway, I'm with you though. Like I actually feel like I'm getting more of the stuff that I want than when I was hunting. And I felt like I'd waste a lot of time sometimes going to stores repeatedly. And it's like, oh, not there. I don't know. Just
I miss that feeling though, like the feeling of finding something in store. And then,
are there certain things that you still go to the store for to find? Like
I go in and don't expect anything. And that's just the defeatist mentality, but I have to go in like that.
But
when
that's
it comes
the
to
pleasant
Legends,
surprise, right?
When it comes to Legends, I'll pop into a Walmart or something, GameStop. If it's there, it's there. Jada.
For you guys, those are your stores: Walmart in Canada, Toys R Us, GameStop, and what was the first thing you mentioned? It was something that wasn't on my radar.
Oh, Walmart. I think it is Walmart.
Okay.
And then we have our independent stores too, though. So that's
right. All right, cool. Well, I was just wondering about that. Kind of curious what people's thresholds are for pre-ordering. Curious for the folks that are here. How long do you go before you get frustrated or even cancel? Like I've canceled some things.
I feel bad canceling sometimes. Like sometimes I'll just sit there and take it because I don't know. I don't know. I feel bad for them.
We'll
But the
get there.
business.
For
Okay, yeah.
when you talk about your customers, I'll be transparent about your customizers. There's something that I'm having a funny relationship with. But Brian Carr, thank you for joining. Highly Posable, who you will be hanging out with in February.
KJ keeps asking when I'm free. So if the guys vet me, because it's not just him.
Oh,
if
gotcha.
they vet me and approve, then I'll pop in February.
Hey, what's the deal, guys? Is there like a jumping in process? Is that what's going on in the highly posable world? Is that how that works? Speaking of highly articulated, says the figures will come out when they're ready. We're not making any excuses. It sucks and people are upset, but being open and transparent is the right way to proceed. Yep, again, one of those level-headed BC
Rational
folks. Yeah,
he's very nice. We corresponded in email.
Yeah,
he told me
he's a good
to
dude.
reach out to him and just like ask questions about that line, because that was when I was still like, I don't know anything about this line other than random.
For AWOC.
Yeah,
man, I'm glad you checked him out because I've heard you guys talk about him. You bring him up. I know. I think Elvin's kind of burnt out on the whole animal thing, which I totally get. But they're good figures, man.
Yeah.
Brian Carr agrees. Totally cool with that. I'd much rather have these figures be awesome and take a bit longer because not rushing them is smart. Sorry, I don't mean to cover you. Cover me. Yimbo, who also has a show on Sundays, usually right after this. Check him out. Fellow toy educator as well. Public schools. Happy Sunday. And I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that was chiming in.
Ray did ask if I aware of the Jada. Like, did I pick up any Jada Street Fighter? I have Chun-Li and Cammy and an M Bison. So I didn't want to ignore. I did see your question. I just didn't want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I'm sort of, we're talking and I'm losing.
You get caught up in the moment, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So you don't get jumped in, apparently, but yes, just come hang out. Hey, look at that. I would love that someday for sure. All right. So here's Kenzo. So angry. I want to daywalk. No, he's super chill and joking around. And LAF, literally action figs, says if I paid already, probably about a year and a half and I get itchy. Totally makes sense. No money up front. I really don't mind how long. I'll wait maybe 3 years and I cancel on principle. Yeah, 3 years is, I don't know that I've ever waited for 3 years.
I can't think of anything that maybe Mayfec stuff, because they'll announce it and then you'll pre-order it and then you just forget it exists. And then one day it's like, hey, these are coming out next week. Like, oh, I totally forgot this character existed in figure form because you took 3 years to make it.
I don't even play the Mayfex game, and that's wild for me to hear that
in Mezco.
Yeah.
But there you go. See, Mezco 89 bats.
Oh, that was particularly bad, man. I was watching Kevin toying around. Yeah, okay, got it. That's okay, got it. Makes sense. All right. Let's move on. What are we moving on to? I don't even know. Let's see. Oh, okay. You're a Legends collector. I know this was sort of the big thing that came up on the Marvel Legends fan stream last month now, since it's now February. But this was the big announcement of the Maximum series, right? And it was a figure that I know you are not shy about collecting.
Yeah.
Spider-Man. And you brought this up. You're like, hey, have you talked about this yet? Here's this Spider-Man. I know you all talked about it. The big question on a lot of people's minds is how much is this thing gonna be? And then I think people also have sort of questions about like really what's going on with this figure. But just for context, can you give it, like, I'm not a big Legends collector. I've handled a bunch in my time. My brother's a big Marvel Legends collector, but I just, I enjoy through him. And I was a big comic book collector. Someone asked me on a stream, like, dude, you like comics? How come you don't buy this? I was like, I actively resist it because I'm so excited by this, like, weird Chinese ghosts.
You're smart.
So tell me from your perspective as a collector, here's the first question. How many Marvel Legends Spider-Man do you have?
Oh, I don't know.
Ballpark.
I want to say 30 something if there is even. I want to say that.
Of those 30, how many of them are basically your Peter Parker blue and red?
Like I have one centerpiece, and it's the Renew Your Vows one, which has problems.
Okay. So when you see them announce this and they're sort of positioning it as like the maximum, the like penultimate version of a Spider-Man, how do you as a collector respond to that? Is it like with, I don't know, excited?
They did what I wanted them to do. So here's the thing. People are like, Renew Your Vows came out. This sucks. It's too big. He's too buff. Then the animated version comes out. Like, okay, this is great, except he has this stupid cell shading and he looks like the cartoon. And then people are like, he needs this inverted ab crunch to do. Like, they wanted the perfect Spider-Man. So Hasbro's finally like, here you go. So like, what? In reality, I can't be mad at this thing being created and existing. People just wanted this years ago. It's just, it's coming out now after the 30 previous ones, or however many there are. So fair enough. And then people are
fair enough for sure. You're right. That is fair. What's interesting to me is as you say that, people were like, oh, okay, there's the Renew Your Vows. Great, but we want a better one. That
like the shoulders are off. His shoulders sit like people found things to be upset by.
Right. And then new ones come out. And I'm so curious. Do people buy the new ones even though they're frustrated? They're kind of yes. Okay, so they're buying. And they're buying. And they're buying. And Hasbro's like, but then they release this one. So I'm just curious, are you based on what they've shown, are you skeptical about the sort of like posability, the sculpt? Is there any, like, what's your reaction to that, what you see here?
On paper, this is great. It gives you the alternate hands. I know that this doesn't have import quality, so you're going to get like the calf boot swivel that looks off like that.
So you're looking at this. Like
that doesn't bother me. I know this is like a Hasbro. I like the bare arms with the web shooters. So it's doing everything right. Now, what's going to come down to for me is the plastic quality, because when you get pinless, they're gummier, and the drop-down hips. So the drop-down hips had problems with the live action, like Andrew, Toby, and Tom Holland, where people would move the leg and it would just shred right off.
Oof.
Because
shred like the leg would break off?
The leg joint would just shred, like it would just disintegrate it.
Oof.
The legs were too tight, so when you move them, the joint just broke. And I would say, oh no, that's a random QC issue, except everyone online was going to Reddit, like, hey, my legs snapped off. The exact same problem happened here. So that's my biggest concern when I see figures like this that are pinless, that have all of these extra points of articulation to get them into these poses. Are you testing the QC issues as well as you should be? Are you just going to pump these out like the live action ones?
That totally makes sense. And it kind of speaks to what you're saying about track record. Track record matters. So when you have that track record of making mistakes like that, that also unfortunately negatively colors how people.
What is a normal retail price? People will be mad, but like, okay, fine, I'll exchange these. But when you get into, I don't know who confirmed this, but people are saying it's $60.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I don't know what the confirmation is. At one point, I heard people saying something was leaked from overseas, but I tend to be just like, well, I have to. Not like I'm gonna. I feel like just accepting something as true when it isn't confirmed, even when they say, no, so-and-so has a track record, like that's great, but it kind of just doesn't matter until Hasbro says, this is the price. That's how I look at it. I'm like, why am I going to get upset or excited? Either way, kind of like what you're saying about going into a story, like you go in with disappointment. I would be bummed if like I accepted that it's this price and it was higher, or like it's just weird. Like, why not wait until it's actually there? There's nothing you can do about it now. And that's the weird part, because that's the whole toy tuber, or like you said, Reddit. It's like then people start getting frustrated or like, that's horrible. They shouldn't, like, it's like, but nothing has actually happened yet. So you're upset about possibilities. And unfortunately, that affects people's perception of the brand. And, some people either don't read or are kind of casual. They see that and they assume, oh, it's news. It's like, and again, it's just weird. Yeah. Anyway, it's just interesting for me to hear someone who clearly pays attention to detail, because you're also customizing and you want to get that. You're chasing those perfect figures sometimes by making your own.
Yeah.
So you have high standards, like a lot of the customizers I know.
I tried.
No, you totally do. But I'm just curious, on the face of it, sculpt wise, visually? Like,
Visually, it has the
liking this
wrinkles. It
style?
has the wrinkles. It has those small details that I want.
Mhm.
They made his waist slimmer and his upper body bigger, and the shoulders sit the way they should. Aside,
As
the
far
eyes
as
are
like
kind of
up
hard.
or
Yeah,
down?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like to me, this looks good.
I agree with you on the eyes. You were talking about it on your show
They're
about
far
how
apart.
yeah, they don't sit right. They're far apart. That if
Yeah.
you actually looked at his eyes would be like right at the
They'd be
points, like
closer
right
in
here.
more. People are like, "No, you're crazy." Like, I'm not crazy.
You're definitely not crazy. I will say, as a comic book fan, we dealt with like off art all the time. So there's that piece too. That's the tricky thing as comic book fans. Like, man, I've sat through all sorts of versions of Spider-Man. I'm not talking just costumes, but like artists. Like, this is totally riffing on a Eric Larson. Is that his name? Eric Larson? Larson or McFarlane kind of era. Hyper detail, sinewy
Huge
muscles,
eyes. Yeah.
huge eyes, and even the webs, right? The webs are totally like the McFarlane, like extra stuff going around the actual like rope or whatever.
Yeah.
So to me, when I look at that and if I understand that, this totally is like, okay, I get it. The eyes are off, but that was the style.
Just a tad closer. I'm nitpicking.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. If they did
Yeah.
it, it would be like, I'd be like, okay, no, I get it. But so all of that said, if this ends up being like what they're showing here, and then as you pointed out earlier, and I haven't shown it yet, this effect is, I know, throwing people off. But the stuff, this loadout, right, with all of the sort of hands and everything, this is meant to be the maximum series. What would you say? Like, yeah, I heard 60, but like, just for you, Canadian or American, just to state whichever is going to be, which would you say is like you'd be comfortable spending on a figure like this?
Well, I'm a sucker, so I'd probably buy this regardless. But like, honestly, like, this is a $40. Like, this is what it should
$40.
come with. This is what it should come with. I don't know. Is 40 fair? Like, that seems fair to me.
40 USD?
Yeah.
Or I think it's,
well, how much you guys
fair.
paying now? What are you at? $29.99, $25.99
for these guys?
For Legends in general, just your basic Legends.
It depends. I think it's like 25 something. It's not 29 yet at Target, as far as I know. But again, I'm not the biggest thing. I could do a quick check.
Yeah.
But I've seen them, every now and then. Like, I just picked up the Wolverine Psylocke 2-pack, but that was like online. But the standard figure, let's see, Marvel Legends. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, and I'm not showing this on the screen because y'all don't need to see this. But I want to say it was like 25, but again, I'm not normally in the market. Let's see.
To me, that I'm gonna stand by 40. This looks like a $40 figure to me.
Oh wait, so here you go. That Marvel Legends, the Iron Man, in that blue packaging, is that newer or is that older?
Which one?
He looks like Iron Man Mark LXXXV. What is that? Here, I should just show it.
Okay.
Here, let me just share it. Sorry. Let me go here and here. So this figure I feel like I'm seeing this in stores right now. Am I right?
That's
or
like the
older?
Marvel Studios line. So they keep re-releasing these guys.
Okay, so
I
these
feel
are
like
older,
this might
but
be older.
So that's $17. You can see like this guy's whatever,
Caps
$30 on, not still coming out. That's wild to me. Really? I, for some reason, as somebody who buys like things like Four Horsemen or AWOC, let's say, $30 on some of these figures is interesting to me. Oh, here you go, $43 for a pre-order.
Is that sold at
older.
or a reseller?
This is Supaida, man. So
yeah, is that because I know
older.
Target has resellers now too. Yeah. So is this them selling it or someone who bought it and is reselling it?
I'm not sure, but it's an older figure, and so sometimes when they're older, I don't even know what's current enough, man. But you can kind of see. I'm seeing a lot of like $15 figures that are older, and then I'm seeing 20.
It's nice. You guys get discounts. Those figures that you're seeing for $16 would still be $44.99 Canadian at Toys R Us.
Okay. Let's see if folks are saying anything in the chat. To clarify, $25.99 currently.
Okay.
If that's the case, you're thinking 40 USD for a maximum
Or a deluxe. I'm going to call it, maximum series.
I think that's fair. Yeah, totally. But he's not chiming in. My bro would know, but he's not. I'm thinking $40 seems fair to me. I was saying, and just sort of as a max, because people were like going higher and higher. And like people were saying, hey, this is supposed to go up against a Mayfex. I'm like, plastic wise, it's going to be different. All those things. It's hard to compare. But as far as like loadout and then posability, maybe if you're looking at
the
those
physique
things,
looks fantastic to me. Like that's my version of what he looks like in my head when he's like in his prime. The loadout, like you just mentioned, I like.
So people are saying, nah, kid, $34.99 to 40. 40 is max for me. My brother's saying 45. Like I was thinking if they were gonna go like $50, like because people were saying high. I was like, no, the absolute maximum, pun intended, has to be 50. Anything I would, and I know people will be upset at that too, but I'm just saying like here's where the brand confusion comes in, right? You're used to buying Marvel Legends, Hasbro figures, not just Marvel Legends, but other Hasbro figures roughly at that $25, maybe up to $30, right? So like, why would anybody want to spend an additional $20 beyond, like it just seems like way too much just because you put in extra hands. Like, I don't think the average consumer who maybe is even buying Legends or is seeing toys at retail is necessarily thinking like some of the folks who pre-order toys from smaller companies or from Mayfex, right? So that sticker shock would be too much. But I'm with you. I think $40 is the fair price.
Stickers. I think the sticker shock would be too much, but they also have done a fantastic job rebranding as the Maximum series, where they be like, well, your old ones were this, but this is the Maximum series. So you have to understand, we're going to charge you $50.
Maybe, but how weird is that?
How weird is it? Very weird.
I hear you. Yeah. What's funny is that you're basically now you're denigrating your other brand as being sort of subpar,
it's obsolete,
right?
Yeah. You got the old version. This is the new, and this is the good stuff here.
The new newness. Yeah. Literally Action Figures saying it's a $40 figure. It's going to be 50 and I'll pay it. 60 and up will be a tough sell. Fair enough. Adam saying, keep in mind, people are saying that for $15 over current retail, you get a couple effects and a couple sets of hands. I think this is Hasbro testing the waters.
The funny thing also is how many Spider-Man figures come with web lines and extra hands now. They just say, oh, it comes with all the others. So you don't really need the web effects. So this one, they're treating it like, hey, look at all these beautiful new web accessories, like the impact webbing and the shield. Like you're getting all this new stuff.
Yeah.
So they took away and then they gave you more of the same.
Yeah. Again, I got no horse in the game. I'm just sort of watching. But as somebody who does buy, since you're gonna end up bidding, like here, these two random Chinese figures of characters that I know don't have an IP that they have to pay for a license for or whatever.
Yeah.
$30. The paint on these, like there's a lot of going on here. The articulation, I didn't even really show them, but it's cool. It's got a bunch of hands here. It's got hands. It's got half-eaten turkey wings and weapons and a flask. $30. So I don't know.
It can be done. It can be done.
As an outsider. Yeah.
But then people bring up licensing fees and.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not trying to say that if they can do it, it's the same, like clearly. But then the other side of that is it's Hasbro. Their numbers are huge, right? Their margin is, I would assume, bigger. Anyway, I'm going to watch from afar and sort of see how it goes.
We'll see how many times they reuse this too. Because there's the rumored Marvel versus Capcom. All they have to do is paint him a lighter shade of blue.
Yeah. And they're going to hit those characters, right? Like Rick Jones, what's up, man? Saying Hulk is expected to be the next figure. Like they're going to hit these, like these classics that people have a bunch of figures on. And like you said, they're going to need to later, they could do a Capcom thing if they're going to reuse it, right? They could do all sorts of different versions if this is, Again, it's so weird. I think the whole thing is tricky because they already have a successful line and a line that people see as the flagship Marvel Legends, Marvel characters line. So then again, to kind of separate and be like, no, but this one's better, but please keep buying the other ones too, they're in a weird position. But
yeah.
But they can do whatever they want, and we'll see if folks continue with it. We'll see. Here's a perfect example. I got 107 accessories in Monster Force for $37. Again, this is where the whole indie thing, right, is interesting, because I think people are becoming a little bit more aware of costs. More and more collectors are actually becoming creators and engaging with factories and seeing how that's all done. People are hearing about Kickstarters, following along, hearing more and more people be transparent about the process and costs. Obviously, Hasbro does something very different. They're operating in a lane that is very different than these smaller companies. But you're going to do things like this and say, well, I get this figure. And unfortunately, that is going to inform people's buying decisions. And yeah, it's going to be tricky. Anyway, moving on. Let's move past this stuff. But yeah, I'm curious. We'll see how it goes.
This is the fun part, the waiting game. I don't even care about the figure anymore. I want to see the price. This is like...
Oh man, yeah, that's the other piece of this whole waiting game of how we do things now. It's we get to sit here and there's all this incessant conversation about what if and what is it, and people argue and people fight and people. Anyway, let's go to a happier place. Spider-Man. Let's go to a place where nobody are going to fight and argue at all.
In the world of toys? Okay. Sure.
Well, kind of. Let's talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, because I'm sure everybody's totally fine
on the
with
same
it
page
and happy and on the same page. We talked before this, and I saw you guys talking a little bit about it on, I think it was just past Monday.
Yeah.
I checked it out. I can actually say 100%, with the exception of maybe the MTV one, because I didn't have cable at the time. I've watched every single Spider-Man show that has ever existed, including the old like live action stuff. I haven't like truly watched Spider-Man except for clips on YouTube.
I didn't get to it. Yeah, save just clips.
But as a kid, Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, the 1960s, or what was that? I think it was 60s stuff. Spider-Man, all of that stuff. There were just a bunch, and I watched every one because I was a fan of the genre. I love comic books, so I was excited. And I watched Electric Company as a kid, whatever. So all that to say is like I'm well versed in all of them. What's different now than it was in the past is that you just discovered stuff on TV. Now we hear about it and everybody argues about it and talks about it.
Like, man. Remember when things just popped up? Or they give you like a month, like, hey, check out Sonic the Hedgehog coming this Saturday at 5 a.m. for whatever. Yeah, no.
So let's not spend too much time before we actually talk about the show of like what people are saying or whatever controversy or frustration, whatever. Okay. I'm just curious. What did you think of it? If you would rather me go first, I'll happily say where I'm coming from. But
no, I'll go.
How do you want to do this?
So I didn't plan on watching it. You mentioned you checked it out. So I'm like, okay, you know what? This is a new show. You obviously have to talk about it today because you have me as a guest. And I want to talk about it. So I gave it a chance. I feel it's not a threatening show. Like I don't love it yet, but I also do not hate it. It seems like something as a kid I would put on and be satisfied with. If I if I was 7 years old and I saw this on TV, I would watch it. I have the problem that I'm comparing it to the 90s version, Spectacular, which is my second favorite version after the 90s. Both of those kind of ended on a cliffhanger, so I will forever be jaded. And I feel like the bar is pretty high to compete with that. I will say I like I was curious about the art style at first, but I like the heavy shadows and the thick lines. Kind of reminds me of like Kirby, I guess, or like just an inked comic book. I'm not a fan of his homemade suit. That will change, but it just bothers me, and it always will. Out of homemade suits, this is my least favorite one. This is my least favorite one. I I can't hate it. Like there's nothing for me to hate about this. They're doing everything I want it to, story wise. A few of my friends were like, "Oh, he focuses on his love life too much or whatever." I'm like, "No, he actually doesn't. He focused as much as any Peter Parker would in the history of Spider-Man in its entirety." So I need to see more before I make a judgment call. You did mention the controversy. That's a whole separate topic that I think we're going to get into, but I want to hear your take.
For sure. And can I just ask, I know you're saying I'll wait for the others, but of the 2 episodes that came out and you've seen, are you generally like on the positive vibe, on the, not liking it so far, kind of in the middle?
It has my attention. And if it continues to trend upwards the way it is, like get more into the superhero aspect of it, like,
right.
I don't want you to get your suit at the end of season 1 sort of situation. Like I want to see more of Spider-Man within the next few episodes.
And I guess we should be mindful of spoilers. I just realized, so we won't spoil too much, and it's hard because. But what I will say is, I actually really, really, really enjoy it. I think so far the 2 episodes that I've seen, I was actually pleasantly surprised because the first stuff that I saw, just animation wise, like I get from an art direction, or I'll say, before I saw anything, and I just sort of saw clips and stills, I was like, oh, I totally get what they're going for in terms of the 2D, like pseudo Ditko kind of 60s
there we go, Ditko
vibe. But like it felt, I don't know, like it felt, there's something about it that signaled in my brain cheap. And what I mean by that is like, I don't know. There's something about the animation, and I don't mean to disparage anybody who worked on it, because I know there's money in this and there's stuff, but there was something about like the way the animation looked, and there was kind of like, at first, that's where I was, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay. My brain, I was like, okay, well, let me just watch it for the story, and it's Spider-Man. Let me just, aside from my initial knee-jerk reaction to the art, let me just watch it for the story. And man, I'll tell you that like I really ended up liking it a lot. I've seen it now twice. Watched it with my kids, and the second time around as well. I appreciated the artwork even more than the first time I actually saw it. I was like, wow, this is actually a lot better than I thought. There were moments where I thought things felt a little too flat, if that makes sense. Or
I feel like that was my problem with it. Like they tried to do
animation.
Pseudo 2D, but then it's rendered in 3D animation. So I don't know, the heavy shadows that I expect to see don't exist, like in this picture here. Like there's no lighting or shade. There's just two-toned.
Right. And it's got this style of like, we're trying to do this old thing, but we're using new technology. And I think that's where I get, like, I've done that as an artist or graphic designer, things that I've done where I've tried to like mimic old styles. And I know when I was like, ooh, like I'm mimicking it and it looks like I'm mimicking it versus like, you know, because it's all done in vectors. It's all like super clean. It's not exactly like a hand-drawn thing. And it never will be because it's too expensive to do. If you want that, like get the budget of the Spider-Verse stuff, and that stuff is gorgeous, right? They're able to like really do some unique stuff. That said, it didn't bother me when I watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised the second time around. It's like, whoa. And I'm looking at how things move, their cropping of stuff, like even this, like the just sort of looking at the background. There's a lot of cool curating of what's on screen. Aside from that, characters, I'm like a comics guy. So as a comics person, like I will say a lot of the frustration that I'm hearing people say is about how they've changed things or whatever. Like you kind of said about the love life, or maybe it's about the suit, or maybe it's about race swapping or whatever, or why is this character in there? She didn't really interact with him. But as a comic guy, like I've seen Spider-Man change so many times.
Like I read Ultimate, and I liked Ultimate, and that's
different. But even
different.
before Ultimate, when McFarlane was doing it, it was different from the person before him. When we had Secret Wars, it was different before that. And then you got into Secret Wars and all of a sudden the suit disappeared. Like that was just the way of comic books, period. Like how many, you were just talking about Sunspot. How many costumes has Sunspot worn, and how many times was he a good guy, but maybe going to be a bad guy? And then he's like a omega level, but then not, like, then people die. Like that's where I trip a little bit on some of the criticism around that kind of stuff. It's like, dude, this is just comics. Like it's always been that. And I think there's if you need this, I don't think we need this, but there's the whole canon thing of like, multiverses are canon. And I will say, based on that whole multiverse, like this sort of being a alt reality.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, I don't know if you know, there were like some cool nods to other either MCU movies or even Spider-Verse, or scenes that were like,
yeah.
Did you notice any of those?
Definitely, like,
didn't spoil.
I can't spoil it, but there is a scene, like the bus part. I'm like, that's from that. I was like, cool.
Yep. And there's a swinging by a subway and interacting with someone on the subway that I was like, oh, that's like Spider-Verse, except this kid is hygienic. But so it's like my little one is like, oh, that's like that. So it's like, I think that's all super smart. And I love the dynamics of the way they sort of replace certain characters that we might have seen from his other life. Even so, if folks don't know, this is supposed to be, what's her name from
Nico.
Runaways?
Nico
with an N,
yeah,
or
with an N. And
yeah.
I haven't seen much of her lately at all, so it's nice to see her in this.
Right.
I forgot she existed.
Did you even see the Runaways? We're on tangent,
I
but
gave
the
up on
Runaways
that.
TV show. Yeah. Okay. So she was there, but like, it's cool to see her in this dynamic and their dynamic with one another. And then some of the other characters get brought up. I don't think it's a spoiler. I think it's more of a teaser for anyone who hasn't seen it. But like a lot of the familiar characters are there, including some that are newer. So I got to keep that in mind as an old guy.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't grow up with Amadeus Cho. I didn't grow up with what's her name, Foucault. I didn't, but like, I'm happy that if you're a newer comic book fan and you're seeing the Peter Parker story retold, that you're going to get some of that. Just as happy as I was when the MCU showed up and all of a sudden, like, there were other characters in there like Ned, who wasn't a part of his story back in the day. And Ned was all of a sudden Filipino, shout out. But like, the people didn't trip on that in the way that I think they're doing this. But anyway, so I'll just say I like it and I'm excited for it.
I prefer I prefer him here than the MCU, to be honest. Like his interactions at school.
Yes.
Like, I feel like you could still be Peter Parker. I feel like, are they still considered to be at a gifted school? Like, I know that was my problem with the MCU one. Like, everyone is just like you. How are you still considered an outsider? Like, there's no one who seems different than you here.
But yeah, his school and what he does is interesting. Like every place the narrative goes, if you're a comic book fan and you love other characters, there's stuff going on here. And if you like action, there's a lot of action. And it's very, to me, like when people say like, is it Spider-Man? There's a lot of things that I think are super true to Spider-Man in terms of the way he deals with criminals and the way he quips with them and the way he,
it all comes down to
like,
quipping.
Yeah.
If you can't pull that off, then it's just, I might have to.
And what he cares about, right? Like he's not a normal superhero in the sense that like he cares about little things during the fight, like little things like distract him, but in a good way. Make him, oh yeah, this is a teenager who's figuring this out. I hear you on the costume. I was good with it just because like, oh, it's kind of homemade. And I look at that, like Incredibles, no capes because they're going to mess you up. First thing I thought was like this stuff, like
that's how the tubing. I'm like, someone could just cut that and you're just game over.
That's all bad. But it does happen. So anyway, I don't know. Anyway, I'm here for it. What anything that you're that I said that you're curious about?
It's just, I guess our bars might be slightly different, but nothing. Yeah, nothing. I don't mind the changes to the races at all.
Yeah,
like Harry still was Harry. Norman was Norman, as far as I could tell.
The race thing is also so funny to me, but I don't really get the frustration around it. I really would challenge folks to just really think about what you're upset about, because at the end of the day, the net result, and I'll share someone who's Filipino, this character, the sort of his big, no, I won't spoil. I'll just say this character that's in this picture, her, I'm pretty sure she's Benai. They don't say she is, but people are like, man, there's so many people of color. And I was like, dude, if you go to New York City,
come on. Like, exactly.
You got to remember that the initial thing was in the 60s. Time has moved on. If they're trying to cater to the reality of young kids today, or even, as a teacher myself, it would be really weird to have them look like they were in Saved by the Bell or whatever it is. Like, you know, like it would just be really weird. And I think they do a good job of getting the spirit of the characters. And I would say if Stan Lee were with us, like and I know like he would understand the changes. Like he did it all the time. They reinvented Spider-Man all the time. Jesus. Stan Lee took him to Japan and they didn't mind that they gave him a robot and a car, you know, like, yeah. Anyway, so I just would ask those folks who are along those lines to really examine what are you actually advocating for? Because if they were to stay the same, I basically would never exist in Spider-Man. Ned wouldn't exist, who's Filipino. She wouldn't exist. Like, we just wouldn't ever be around. And if the thing is like, it should just stay true to that forever, I'm like, as a person who has a stake in the game, like I will just say that my kids would grow up like me, watching as outsiders what superheroes do versus saying like, oh yeah, I could be in that world in a real clear subliminal way. Like I didn't, whatever. So that's what I'll say about that. And it's a multiverse. Then, you know, move on, I would say, just like I did as a kid reading comic books. What happens when they shifted artists and storytellers that I liked? I didn't stop collecting. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna sit through this arc for a little bit because I love X-Men.
Wait it out.
Yeah. Anyway,
I will say this so far has introduced more rogues, not in any meaningful way, but better than the MCU. Whereas when the time came for his like, oh, Doc Ock, blah blah blah, Lizard, like, no, these guys don't exist here. Sorry. You have to borrow these from somewhere else. At least this show is not doing that. This show is setting you up to get those characters and villains somewhere down the line. So like, thank you. You can change it, but they still exist in some form.
Can I ask you something? Maybe you know, and we're going to have to weirdly dance around this, but there is a character, a villain, criminal that he stops and has this big sort of like Act 3 fight in. Curious. Is he from the comic books? Do you know? I
not in any meaningful way.
Okay. It's cool, man. I think it's cool. So whatever, folks, I'd love to know if you saw it, anybody in the chat did. But there's definitely a bunch of folks who've kind of spoken about it. Let me real quick just see what I can. Here. Literally Action Fix is saying, oh man, maybe it shows my age, but I've seen enough shows, read enough comics, watched enough movies. I'm so down for the subtle changes. It's nice to not know what's about to happen. Agreed. I'm just kind of like, it makes it fun for me. How many times do you need to see the origins of this stage of Spidey's life?
That's kind of what bothered me a little bit.
I hear you. Does it feel different though?
The way it happened bothered me a lot.
Oh, it did. Okay.
I was like, well, okay, yeah. Like a lot. Okay. And then I'm like,
fair.
And I'm not going to spoil it, but then I realized something else isn't there. I'm like, oh, now I'm super bothered. Like two core things are not there. I'm like, how does this make me feel?
That's fair. That's 100% fair. It is very different. And yeah, I'm sure their answer might be something like, yes, the events aren't there, but the core motivations maybe are still in some form, right? Who he is, why he is the way he is, and the challenges that he goes through. Because all that struggle of like his real life versus his superhero life,
just different ways.
Yeah. And he feels, Anyway, what if they started over and he got bit by a spider, put on some ointment and moved on with his life? Now that would suck. Yeah. There would be no show. What's up, Dre? Good to see you. So I think this is fair. Dislike that another hero is involved in his origin. Gotcha.
That's kind of like,
what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious to see how it unfolds. Yeah. But that's kind of also the MCU. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the MCU that's very different, right? And for some reason, I just like, there's stuff even that phase 1, phase 2 that everyone thinks is like gold. But they took
looking back, I'm like, this is weird. And they took so many liberties.
Yeah, but we're fine with it, right? Sometimes I wonder if, well, whatever. Hear you. A Nova show would be dope, and a Black Panther cartoon would also likewise be dope. You could do so many cool things with tech in that.
Yeah.
this is the other thing, man. It's like you want to do Marvel. It's like, where do you start? There's so many things. And I will say they do a good job of, I think, balancing this stuff where I don't necessarily feel like need to know who Nico is or who Jean Foucault is, or is that her name? Joanne Jean, or Doc Connors is. You don't have to. It shows you, and you just kind of go with the ride, which is, to me, I think that's awesome because it lets people who don't know go on the same ride that a lot of us already did and hopefully enjoy.
How'd you like the intro?
Oh, the music?
Yeah.
I like the music throughout this whole thing.
Okay,
Again, that's a perfect example of, dude, it's the 25th century. Like, I know that if I just played this music, I guarantee that if I played some of the music without saying it's Spider-Man, obviously they would know from the beginning. But if I played this in the classroom, folks wouldn't go, oh, like some of them would, like, heads would nod, which is exactly what you want when you're presenting a new version of a thing in 2025, I think. How do you feel about them sampling? Like, I don't think that's
I like that a lot. It kind of ties everything together the same way I liked when they did it in Ninja Turtles and into the Spider-Verse. Like, I like when that happens. I like it a lot.
Me too. More surprised by the characters they've chosen to round out the cast. Amen. Pearl, Nico, amazing. Yep. Ray, I'm gonna let Ray speak on this, and I appreciate you, Ray. The race thing is disgusting to me, and it saddens me when people are that stupid about it. It shows how far we have yet to go as a society. Thank you, Dre. When I asked, like, what are folks actually thinking about? Anyway, I think things are complex. Like, we're in this crazy moment in the United States, but I straight up agree with Ray personally, and that's what I wonder. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on, man. I'm excited about this. I hope it does well. That's the problem, right? Like, when things are real good and I like them, sometimes they don't do well, and I never want Marvel or any of these, Star Wars or whatever, to change things, or He-Man, based on fan stuff. I think
I was a little salty because I saw Spider-Man and X-Men. Like, I saw what they're doing with X-Men 97. It's like, oh, maybe I'll get Spider-Man 97 or something. Like, no, we're doing this instead. Like, oh, fine, whatever.
Honestly, with the multiverse thing, it doesn't preclude anything. If that thing does well enough, I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's move on. Let's go back to toys. This thing. Let's do just a quick wrap up. I've talked about this on the channel. I had Adam on, who was a part of this, the Kickstarter for the Cursed Dead that just ended yesterday. And they did it. They reached their goal of 175 was the goal. They passed that by $10,000, and they're doing the whole, like, I don't know if it's a newer thing in Kickstarter where instead of, like, before you'd go to backer kit maybe, and you could kind of continue there. They're skipping they're not doing the backer kit. They're sticking with Kickstarter's new feature where you can, like, back later. That said, they're going to keep taking in money. As that money goes up, that could still be applied to their stretch goals.
Yeah.
Some quick updates on the stretch goals is that they published wrong company. That's later. Oh, I don't even have it. Bad host. But as far as their updates go, they shared the stretch goal, the first stretch goal, which is he's called the Mangler, which is kind of an homage to the creature from the Black Lagoon kind of deal, like an aquatic type thing. And I'll bring that up here in a second. The Cursed Dead. But anyway, so that doesn't unlock for a while. I think I don't even know, like $200-something thousand. That said, yesterday on Jonathan, aka Hedgehog Action's channel, they do a show called Saturday Day Live, and Adam was on there, and he's like, and he said this before, the Mangler's my favorite. At this point, I'm just going to say we're going to do it regardless. We're going to make it happen. It's the same body, right? So there's some tooling on the head. They think they can squeeze it in. So there's that. But he did say that if you backed for the stretch goals, because that was an option you can add on. I did that because I'm curious to hear the two stretch goals. They said if for some reason we don't end up making them, we'll gladly refund your money, or you can apply the credit to another figure.
That's cool.
Choose. Yeah. So it's like kind of a no-brainer. It's like, okay, well, great. And I trust them. The thing is, that's part of this whole transparency. It's also transparency and accessibility. Like he's on Toy Amigos pretty much every Thursday. He like works with Hasbro through his job and Diamond Select through his job at Gentle Giant. Like that's Adam, and Phil's designed toys forever. It's like if they screw up, it's like it's a big screw up. Like we know where they're at, so they're not. And we'll just go for the ride.
Like they know how the business works in and out. So
yeah. So I'm curious. I know. Well, yeah. What's your take on these? Do they interest you? They seem weird. I know you've talked a little bit on, but let's share here.
So I didn't back these, but it's just due to shelf space, to be honest. Like what? Like honestly, I don't have the shelf space. If I was to get these, I'd put them in like my Spawn or Ghost Rider, Hellboy,
right?
Any of like the dark magic type characters. Maybe I'll get it. Like I don't know. Like they have appeal. Like I like them. Even looking them just from design standpoint, I'm thinking of other things I could turn these into.
Yep.
I don't know if there was a divide. Like was there? I haven't seen too much in the comments. Like I didn't, but I feel like they're divide, right? They're, and if people want these types of things still, but I feel like monsters and creatures always have a fan base.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like when we talk about toy collectors, it's not like a monolith, right? There's a bunch of different little types of collectors. And there are people who will do the high fantasy thing. There are people who will do horror, and like really soak up everything McFarlane has done horror-wise or NECA has done. There's superheroes, right? There's turtles. So like there's a bunch of us who collect different things. You and I, we're talking about like, what do you collect? What do I collect? Every time I bring somebody on here, they're collecting very different things than I. So you just have, as a toy maker, you got to find your audience, right? Who's going to be into these things. And I mean, there are definitely people who are like, these aren't for me. It's like, yeah, exactly. That's correct. It's not for you. But it could be for someone else. Clearly, they've at least found 572 people.
Yeah, I think people want them.
Right. And I think part of the issue too is as they're brand new, so not everybody's gonna do the crowdfund thing or doesn't know the process. So there's probably a lot of people who might actually be interested in these, but even if they heard about it, they weren't gonna jump in. So I think it's great that they're gonna sort of start in. That's what this crowdfunding is like it allows it to exist.
Yeah. And
then from there, they'll see how it goes in terms of their marketing and trying to sell it and get a bigger audience. So I went in on these. They had a 2-pack for these. A lot of cool deals too. Like there's a 2-pack for this. The stretch goals I mentioned. You could back. There's a add-on for like the two of them combined for like $10 off. If you got paid for them both, or 10 or 5. I forget. So like there were things like that. I hear you. And I was surprised at how much Adam, when he was Van Winkler, when he's going around talking about these, would actively like embrace and say like, yeah, I get it. We have our own lore. This is what we're doing. It's an anthology of horror stuff, but why not get a drinker to fight Blade? Why not like these work?
There's many options here. Even though like the bodies are the same, you could use them. Like there's a vampire there. Clearly I do want the Mangler, like seeing it. I want one. Like
you're not alone in that. Like, this showed up and a lot of folks were like, this is what Adam's saying. It's like, for a long time, he's like, they don't really speak to me what exists there, but I'm going to support it just because it's a cool project. But then this showed up and he's like, I want that one.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to sort of like share the end of it, or I guess the end, but this is really just the first step. Now they got to make these things. There's one other thing that I did want to share about this, which I thought was like one of the coolest things, because they'd been talking about the concept. The concept is that think of The Cursed Dead as sort of an anthology, like Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone. And then, today's episode or today's movie is about the Wendigo. Today's movie is about the drinkers, right? And they started talking about packaging, and they said for most of the figures, it's going to be like this, like it's a monster movie.
This I love.
Yeah. So it's going to open up, right? Like, a lot of packages, and you can see the figure in, but the notion that they're going to kind of create these like VHS covers for this thing.
Yeah.
I think they nailed it. This came out real late. This was just a couple days ago, but I think this kind of marketing moving forward and showing like horror people, I think some people are gonna be like, oh wait, what's that? Like, it's gonna hit that nostalgia for some of the horror folks, but yeah. I'm with you. I thought this was dope. I like the little logo, Toy DNA, and I think it's really cool. And I'm looking forward to the line, but let's go ahead and move on to something that's about to start. On March 1st, 2025, not too long from now. I know Adam was just talking about this. Adam, highly articulated now. The other Adam is poised to like kick this off with a couple of other of your Canadian compacts. So it's Adam from Highly Articulated, BC represent, Arlen, and I'm forgetting his brother's name. I always forget his brother's name. I'm so sorry. Help me out, Adam. But the two brothers, the Pelletier brothers, and Arlen being like a main sculptor for like a lot of classified, a lot of Hasbro figs, a lot of the AWOC figures, Fresh Monkey Fiction stuff, Monster Force, etc. They're doing this line. Is this something that you've seen at all? The Space Zombies from Mars.
I've seen it. People get excited about zombies. I'm not a zombie guy, but man, as soon as someone sees a zombie, they get excited.
Mm-hmm. Rightfully so. Like it's like one of those things. Yeah, it's one of just those things where it's like some things like werewolves, aliens, like they're just universal superheroes. They're like become a genre in and of itself, and they're fans of just that thing. So the idea of zombies in Mars is dope. I do know, based on things that he shared publicly, Adam, that there's also there's a little bit more going on than just sort of zombie attack kind of thing that they'll unveil as time goes on. But this world is very much like Kish 50s sci-fi kind of a world come to life kind of a thing. And then I guess the story goes on from there. I don't know much. I've just reiterating what I've heard him say. I think there's some clever use here. It's kind of like the Cursed Dead or even AWOC, right? Where it's the same essential body parts with some different repaints. But done in different ways so that you get the different colors and stuff. So I asked him today on his stream about like articulation. It's going to be right ballpark with all your Operation Monster Force classified if you're used to that stuff. Butterfly, double elbows, double knees, all this stuff will be in these. So
my favorite thing is when you say like they thought about the lore, because that means there's future prospects and different characters that they have planned. Like as soon as you say that, there's a story here, I'm like, okay, that's sweet. There's a roadmap. I love roadmaps for years.
Yep. Apparently there is a huge roadmap behind this. And they shared too that so Arlen and his brother make music. And so this is basically what's going to be in this thing, like the all-in, if you will. They're going to do the price for this bundle will be 500 Canadian or 345 USD.
Okay.
And that's basically 13 items. So this is one. It's kind of interesting. We've had this conversation. So this is one item. This is another item. This is another item. Then you've got the zombie with a helmet over here.
Yeah.
Another item, etc. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which I believe is the comic book, and 13, which is the soundtrack.
That music, that's the soundtrack. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, they've got they're truly they have a plan, as you say. They have a soundtrack. It's almost like they're playing it out that way. There's a story to tell. It's going to be on purple vinyl, at least for the Kickstarter, and then they'll probably release it on regular vinyl. But since they're the two brothers, their band for this is Prometheus. So the name of the company is TNT Co. or the Nameless Toy Company. March 1st. The line is Space Zombies from Mars. So I'm excited by the whole indie thing, man. I'm excited that people who have been avid toy collectors. Yeah, and just avid toy collectors and have been playing with toys and grew up on this stuff are now in a position to make toys and do it on their own. They don't necessarily these are the things we're going to make.
That's why when I see a Kickstarter and there's passion behind it, I want it to succeed, even if it's not something I'm interested in, just because they had the drive to do it.
Absolutely. I've heard you say that a couple of times on on your show, and I'm like, yep, totally get it, and I agree, and he gets it. Like that's what it's about, because it's like this, somebody had a dream. They're like, I had this idea of a story, like, and I love zombies and space, and like, like this whole thing in the background. What if we had, action
That's
death
cool.
effects
Like
and
it
blood?
exploding head. KJ looks excited for them.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. What's up? No chewing. Vinyl color is not finalized. Asterisk. But purple's a good color. Purple splash. Purple with red dots, which I know they can do. Yep, blood splatter. KJ's into it, man. Diggs Figs is into it. These look so awesome. Yep, 100% agreed. Look out for them. March 1st. Tell folks about it. I was saying, tell your military line collectors, your Action Force collectors, your Monster Force collectors, your what's the Skeletron and the what am I missing? G.I. Joe Classified.
Yeah.
Like those folks who are collecting those figures, especially I think Monster Force. There's a million reasons to like it because there's monsters in it and there's a little bit of sort of a military sci-fi thing. But it's also Arlen, who's like, if you like Arlen's work on Monster Force, you're gonna like his work on this. So TNT Company, they're featured on the cover of Toy Collector magazine, so check that out. Crazy, man. Like,
so cool.
Yeah. We can just quickly go over this, but dude, Panda from Warcraft, World of Warcraft is coming.
You get it?
I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm not. There's just something like one space, but also there's something about this design that I'm not totally into. I think it's super cute and cool looking. I have the Memory Toys Panda that they first released.
Oh, is it the one that goes hand in hand with the like grizzly bear and the other? Or
there's like a repaint. Yeah. This looks like it moves way better than that one, but there's something about that aesthetic for some reason that I'm into. It's a little bit more monster. And then Fu-Ray Planet did like these brothers that are pandas, but they're like yin and yang. That if I were to get pandas, I would have gone for those, which I didn't. But this is cool if you're a World of Warcraft collector. Like I keep saying over and over again, like this is the time to be into Warcraft because you're getting these companies who are doing it. I also just want to highlight, we talk about like what's the name of the company. So again, it was Lee Jin Hong. I'm not pronouncing that right, but
I don't even try. So kudos to you, because every time I mumble it, it's anyway.
That's the one doing the turtles, but they're also doing these. And so they started off as Memory Toys, and then they changed the name again to, as you'll see, Medi Toys. And then sometimes you'll see them advertising stuff by Hero Toys, which is a completely different brand, but they also do unlicensed Warcraft figures. So doesn't matter, I think. I mean,
whatever. That's a lot of stuff. That looks good.
Yeah. Wild, right? Two heads, all the little details. Like if you're a photographer, this is stuff that you get into, I'm sure. So anyway, cool stuff. I should probably share that with the people in the live. Sorry for getting all about y'all. Yes. Oh, Ray's like, hey, show us something Adam wouldn't. I can't. I have no pull when it comes to space zombies from Mars, man. I'm that. I know there's some confusion because Adam's involved in Spiro and Jason from Spiro's doing some of the paint master work on some pieces. And of course, Arlen does work for Spiro, but they're two separate companies. And yeah. And so Ray recognizes, like, where's Jason when you need him? Because Jason would probably accidentally say something. And then Highly Posable saying this. So this is a thing that came up recently. So Mithril Action and Mithril Studio, I will just say, was that?
They did the orcs, right? I get it. I get them all like mixed, intertwined.
They do the orcs, but it's like a Storm Collectibles type build with the underframe and the soft rubber. I'm not sort of conflating all of them intentionally because, again, going back to our earlier conversation around Maximum Series Marvel, I want to wait for actual evidence. And to me, when this company right here is saying Medi Toys here, but then they're saying Memory Toys here, it's pretty clear they're the same company. And as I've shared before on Memory Toys Instagram, they've shared Hero Toys stuff and vice versa. So there's that. I've never seen any actual like hard evidence for me to be able to say Mithril action's the same. Also because their build is so different. It's very Storm Collectibles.
Yeah.
This panda is just like the Illidan, Hero Toys, plastic, movement. So anyway, that's the only reason, but you're right. They also do whatchamacallit. They also do World of Warcraft. And yeah, KJ saying is Storm Collectibles. I've heard this theory too. Again, I don't know what the evidence is. If you have some
he has some behind the scenes stuff going on.
Maybe. And I've heard that, oh, they were folks that work within Storm Collectibles or doing their own thing, or this is them doing unlicensed stuff. So, and then highly plausible breaking it down. Memory Toys was the name they started with. Then now they're Medi, Mithril, and Hero aren't the same company. Okay.
So like the turtles we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And so I get it. So KJ's putting out that Storm Collectibles people might be putting out unlicensed stuff under the name Mithril, which again is a thing that happens. So there's like
it's funny when there's all in a shared space too. So it's like you just step to your left and then here's Medi Toys.
And so here's what Adam's saying is, I hear this. I think a lot of these brands are just labels and they're all coming out of a factory that's behind all the brands. So again, I hear the idea and I know it's been there. And so my thing is, I just don't want to throw this all together for a couple of different reasons. But like the main one being, unless I know, like, then it's weird for me to keep putting it out there because I hear people say that all the time. Then I start people saying like, oh, all the import stuff is all the same. Or I was like, ooh, that gets icky for me because they're like, oh, it's all coming out of China, all that Chinese stuff. It's like, yeah, but that says a bunch of things. Even for this one, like saying there are only a handful of toy making factories, 100%. But as he knows, the same factory is going to make Spiro Toys and TNT Co. But TNT Co. and Spiro aren't the same company by that logic, right? We wouldn't, and we know
they're just completely unrelated.
Yeah. So I just don't know.
Space.
Yeah. And here, this is ultimately, it gets really confusing, but I know that what we end up getting.
That's the most important part here.
Yeah, for sure.
End up on our shelves.
All right. Let's move. This was just a thing. We don't have to spend too much time. It's old too, but I never saw it. And I showed it to you. What did you think when I shared this Hellboy mech?
I love robots. I love it. I've seen it and I didn't click on it because I would have bought it. But the same reason I passed on the turtle stuff, I cannot start another expensive line. But I do like mechs. I do like robots. I'm seeing if I have any at hand.
Look at that. I just saw this video too. So it was kind of cool to kind of see this. Shout out to, sorry, I should have been doing this, brick.lego.71, which I thought was hilarious. He's probably 5 years older than me. But this thing looks rad. And like, so, you know, I'm looking at the like Heat Boys, think about the Heat Boys TMNT stuff. And, you know, I love this. And there are people clearly out there who want them. Like, get a robot Hellboy. I've just always been intrigued with how people would translate this into like robot form. So do you collect a lot of like robot type stuff? Whether it's
not a lot. Like I have the like MDLX Transformers. I have some random like Metabots. I have those. I think it's, what is it, number 57? I forgot the name of it. Like Grave Frog, those tiny model kits.
Oh God, hold on. Can you hold that up real quick? I'm curious about those. Yeah.
Like I repainted it, but
you like those guys?
I like them. They're fun. I have the sharks, I have the frogs. There's a goldfish I want. They're addicting.
Oh, see, you're into the random animals doing action. Okay.
Oh, I love those. I don't know if you must know Toy Farce. He's the one who he got me hooked on these. So
dude, I love that guy's sense of humor, man. He's so rad. Check this out though, like movable fingers. I get excited about stuff like that. I think that's really cool. All of that. Anyway, I just think it's cool. I'm curious to see other stuff from here. But to me, this is like not far from what you do, right? Like as far as a customizer, it's like you have a vision for this thing and you're going to translate it onto whether it's like a DC character on a Marvel Legends body or whatever, right? Yeah. There's a similar thing going on, I think, creatively. which I think is a good segue to this, man.
Oh,
You
thanks.
are dvon.art. Let's talk about your customs real quick. And I'm just curious, do you
Sure.
remember what your first custom was and when it was?
It was a crappy Invincible when the comic first came out.
Okay. Long
Only-
time ago.
Yeah, it was just oh man, it was rough. It was choppy. I have redone a few of my customs just because I'm like, I think I've gotten better over the years, so I want to redo these. We're not using the same factory.
Yeah, and so I was just gonna say, Adam's just correct. Fair enough. You're not using the same factory, but I think the point stands, right? It's not like the factory that makes Spiro toys doesn't make any other toys, and so whatever else they make at that factory is not the same as Spiro. So it's like the notion that they all kind of there's only so many factories. Anyway, moving on. Hey, you've got folks looking at your stuff. So it was an Invincible. And it's funny because you're still like chasing the Invincible. I haven't seen you.
Hey, as soon as the show started again, I'm like, okay, I have to make him better.
Okay.
And then other people are like, hey, can you make me one? So I must have made like 30 just randomly for.
Yeah.
And
real
then
quick,
season.
yes. You want to answer
I am from Canada, BC. Yeah. Oh, there's 78.
Who you calling a nerd? Nerd, what's up, man? Good to see you. Dee 78. So how long? So that when Invincible came out, what year was that? How many years back?
Let's find out.
And I'm gonna look. So while you're looking at that, you have a thing clearly for the Invincible. You've got an itch to scratch, but you've also got some Green Lantern.
That one started randomly. Whereas like I want a lantern, and then their suits are so different between each one.
Yeah,
that I kind of fell into that, and the other people started sending me ideas like, hey, do you think you could make this? So a lot of my customs are people sending me ideas.
Are they like, is it for them, or are you just like, it's a challenge and you just do it?
It's a challenge. Some that if you scroll up a bit, this one was for Elvin.
Got
this yellow lantern Mongol. Someone's just mailed me their figure. Like, can you I'll pay you to like repaint him. So this one was just a repaint, and I changed the emblem. So people have mailed me stuff as well.
They send you all the parts. Like
they just some people I just go find it for. But someone, if they're really desperate, like I want to paint this guy or modify this guy, will you do it for me? And I don't like doing that because I don't think I'm that good, and I'd feel bad if I butchered their figure. But I have to accept the fact they think I'm not good, and I appreciate them for it.
Yeah. And is there a risk? I mean, but what I know it's tricky, and I appreciate the humility. But man, they see your work, they like it, and they're like, hey, can you do this for me? That's awesome.
My favorite thing lately are people have been just messaging me, like sending me their stuff or asking me like, hey, what parts would you use for, like, they pick my brain and I like talking about it.
Is this done?
That's done. That went to Elvin to shut him up. So it's just like, here you go. There you go. Get out of here.
And what I appreciate is you breaking these things down too, as someone who, like, I haven't really messed with a bunch of stuff, like really tiny mods on things, but I love to process. I'm all about process and the creativity behind stuff and just how people put stuff together. So
it was a fun hobby, and I like it a lot.
So you were saying, oh, that first one, like, well, I wasn't into it. It was rough. At what point would you go? Look at this. I love it.
This was for a Secret Santa swap. So we were talking about this earlier. I sent this to someone, and then in return, someone else gave me here's a random comic book I like. It's called Ultra Duck.
Oh, that picture.
Yeah, so they sent me. Well, if you want to just throw it up on Instagram, it's kind of blurry.
Yeah. So the Ultra Duck. So Secret Santa is like literally you don't know who's.
I don't know who it is. Like I just got it in the. You send a list to the mods of that legendary Secret Santa swap, and I put a bunch of stuff on it, and then they pick from that. So I got this guy. I was hoping I'd get this guy. So
wait, there's a list of pre-designed stuff, or you suggest things?
Oh, I just like, I want this character. So I gave a list of 10 characters I want them to make. And he was on it, and then he came up with this, and I think he said his fiance did the hair.
Oh,
from
fantastic.
Like cosplay wigs. Yeah, it's a cosplay wig.
It's hair.
So
That
like
looks
this is the coolest thing. And it's
that
from a
is
random comic I
so
read
cool.
years ago from Edgar. I think Edgar Delego or Delegado.
Delgado. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's cool. What imprint or what comic company? Do you remember?
It is
An
Valiant.
indie?
I think it's an
Valiant.
indie kind.
Okay. Yeah, and you're up on the lanterns. So what was the first lantern that you did that started
Oh God.
this?
It was Kyle Rayner and Hal Jordan's. He had a different costume when he's wearing Hal Jordan's ring. So it's like,
Oh,
okay,
okay, not this one.
it's not that
Further
one.
back. Got
It
it.
looked rough too. They all looked rough. They're on the internet somewhere, but
So oh, that's what I was asking. At what point did you stop feeling like, oh, my stuff is rough?
I don't know. You just get to a
And I
certain
know you
point
seem like
where
really humble, and
I
so, but I know
still
you.
will make the same thing. Like my
I
girlfriend's
knew
like,
you were going
"Didn't
to
you
say
make this
that.
guy like 5 times?" I'm like, "Yeah," but I threw that one out so I could redo it. When I started getting cleaner lines, like Hal's waist section there, like because you tape it off.
Gotcha.
When I started like drilling holes into the body to make the emblems,
Nice. This stuff
I
is
started using
dope.
vinyl stickers and decals. Like I drew those D-Loves lanterns. Yeah, I do. It came out of nowhere. I was like, I like lanterns now.
What's this? Elvin doesn't even buy toys, meaning like he just gets you to make custom toys, or what's that about? Just messing.
He
Messing
wishes.
with Elvin.
He keeps trying to get me to make stuff, and I'm very choosy now. Like Elvin wants the Knights of the Round Table, but it has to be King Arthur and the Knights of Justice. Do you remember that '90s show?
Right? Yeah, that cartoon. Yeah, yeah. It
I'm
was
like,
like
I'm
a
not going to
football
make you
team.
this
Was it a football
because
team that got
yeah, it was a
soaked
football
in?
team that went back
Yeah.
in time, and he
Yeah.
keeps bothering me.
And so I'm just curious. I've heard you talk about it, but in terms of what toy companies are making DC figures right now, do you get them? Are you into them?
So
I'm
the
trying. Okay,
Mayfix,
it's McFarlane. I'm talking
yeah,
about McFarlane, but
okay, he's doing something right. He's doing something right because they always sell out. Period.
exactly. That's weird to
They
me.
may not be for
I'll admit.
me.
Right.
I have a
I
few of
say
his
that.
figures.
I mean, yeah, I say that, and I literally just picked this guy up and this guy up because, like, when am I going to get these characters?
Like you can find a character and a figure you want in a McFarlane line. Like if you, what am I talking about? There's Spawn up there, so like I'd be, and I have some DC stuff.
What's up, Tony? You do have DC, but so then you're doing these. But what's beautiful about this stuff is it slots right in with your, they can go up against your Marvel
Like I have
characters.
my cosmic shelf up there. I took some lanterns down, but you pulled up my Instagram anyway. But like I want the Nova Corps beside the Green Lanterns. I want the Imperial Guard next to them.
Gorgeous, man. The head.
Oh yeah, I took Age of Apocalypse morph, and then I just sculpted it.
Mm-hmm. That's epoxy, that putty or whatever.
It was Procreate putty. I think they don't make that anymore.
Here. Oh, it's so good. And I'm just curious, that stuff in terms of drying, it feels like plastic.
Yeah, it does.
Solid, and you don't have to worry about it, or is it kind of fragile?
The stuff's more malleable, so if he's fallen off the shelf and it didn't break, so it holds up. If you do it right, it holds up.
So I saw this, and I was like, "Damn, that is so cool." I'm again sucker for process shots, but check that out, man. Check that out, folks.
Yeah, they're just so cool. Like it's therapeutic. I always have to be making something, or I go stir crazy.
How often are you working on this stuff?
Every week, just random stuff. Like if I don't have anything, I will just randomly make something.
This is dope. This is a great looking static.
Oh yeah, static. I needed a static figure.
What was the head? The head looks good. You sculpted some of that too, right? You added some.
The hair is sculpted. That's just a random Power Rangers head.
Damn.
One of those lightning collections.
For the face sculpt.
Yeah, the head itself, and then I just sculpted the mask and the goggles and the hair. The hair was
clean, man.
twisted putty, and then I run a wire brush over it.
Brilliant. And everything here, the logo.
That's a decal that I drew and printed out. That's a water slide decal.
Nice.
And then other ones, there's vinyl decals I started learning how to make. So you like stick it on. The shoes were from a Fortnite figure that I repainted. I needed him to have sneakers, and that was I needed Static to have he needed like that homemade look, but still clean, like that
Mhm.
janky Spider-Man from that show. That
Great callback. Good job. Yeah, man, you're doing good stuff, and I love seeing
Those
this. I love
ages.
checking out. She looks so good.
They got a warehouse. When was the last time you were here? Did you go to Ages?
This is November 3 years ago now. 3 Novembers ago.
If you come back, check out their showroom now.
Yeah, different. Yeah, this stuff is great, man. And again, these are characters that you're not getting enough of. I mean, this one.
Well, the Mattel one on the right, I was like, I don't want to be rude, but I don't like it, so I'm just gonna make her myself.
Wait, which one? This one.
The official one, the Mattel one, I didn't like.
Oh,
so there's a side by side there.
The old one.
Yeah.
The old Mattel.
Yeah.
Classics. Yeah. No. It's cool, man. It's great. This was Monet.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a repaint. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This just works out.
Yeah.
I needed to sculpt some stuff, but I still managed to pull it off.
I mean, yeah, this is an older figure too.
Yeah.
In fairness, like, so production has changed to what Hasbro's doing here. Yeah, I think this stuff's great, man, and that's the dream in my brain. Like, if I were collecting superheroes, to have DC and Marvel in scale with one another, to just kind of.
That was my thing. I wanted them squatted up on the shelf with my favorite characters, and they keep making that impossible for me by changing the scale.
What is this? I don't even know.
So Customs by Machu, we did a Secret Santa swap.
Oh,
he made Jin from Capcom for me, and I made him a Dark Cloth, so the Batman Wolverine.
Got it. This is Jin from Marvel versus. Oh, yeah. From the second movie. This is a Capcom. Who's the Capcom character from?
It was from Cyberbots.
Oh, I don't even know the game.
I knew him from Marvel versus Capcom. I don't know him from his actual game.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. Folks are digging your stuff. Larry's digging it.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, good stuff.
But I'm excited more so now because people just message me random questions or what they want to show off.
And you've met a lot of folks now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good. It's a good meeting point as well for basically what I just described.
So Customs by Machu, who is also, I know on the West Coast, he's up in Canada, yeah?
He's local. I see him.
Yeah, okay. Is one of, let me just skip to him real quick, is one of, spoilers.
So him was the McFarlane one. Customs is this guy, Customs by Machu.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to jump around, but this was, speaking of Customs by Machu, he's the one who did this Jin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Same one. So the same.
I was asking you, like, yeah, so what, like, you're into customizing, who of your peers are you like into and inspire you, or work you really like? And you kind of sent me the short list. So let's just quickly go through this and call it a day. Customs by Machu. So did you meet him locally before the whole customizing connection, or did you?
I bought a random figure off of him, like off Facebook Marketplace, and we're like, yeah, see you later.
Just something
not a custom, just a figure, just a Jubilee figure. I'm like, okay, see you around. And then on the Facebook Customs group, we started talking. And then he's like, oh, just come to one of our like custom hangout things and I'll show you how to do stuff. And then it turned out to be the same guy. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've met you before. So then we started talking, and now we talk frequently and see each other sometimes.
That's great.
It was his Street Shark that lured me in originally. Like, I used to Google customs, and his Street Shark would, that one there, Streaks, that used to come up all the time. I was like, man, how do people do this stuff? I don't understand how people do this stuff.
It's so cool. Again, if there was some magic world where all the toy companies would get together and say, hey, let's make all our figures fit.
Yeah.
Like, how cool would our shelves be, right? To have a Street Shark that's like right up next to your whatever Wolverine skating by on
gargoyles, biker mice. All of those stuff. Ninja Turtles.
So that's cool. You strike up a friendship, then you realize, oh crap, like we met before. This guy's crazy. I saw when he was like in the process of making this sort of like workshop.
Yeah, he has like a shed workshop now.
Badass, man. Look at that. He was just on Toy Migos 2 Thursdays ago. It was awesome to see him and his little baby, or his baby, hear his baby, I should say. And then the cool thing about the customizing is like you and Invincible, or some of the Lanterns. It's like you get to see characters that we're not seeing, or we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Be made, and you get to throw them right next to all your other stuff, right? It's so
I
cool.
like when I get a character that I like in the 90s, like this thing's ugly, I hate it, and then now it's grown on me. Like I'm like, oh, I actually think I like this.
Like,
Like, yeah, like, I need to make this character immediately.
Yeah, I totally get that. Anyway, his stuff is awesome, man. Even like these, like I was not at all partial to this period of Rachel Summers, but it's cool that this exists, and it's just, I don't know. Again, it's kind of like the Spider-Man conversation. Like I wasn't into it, but I know there are people who are and who would be into it. So like, cool. I ain't gonna, complain about it. But yeah, he's super prolific and just like does a ton of work. Check him out.
Nicest guy too.
Yeah, I don't even know this character, but I'm just drawn to the way.
He's so fun. I love this character so much.
I'm gonna play a little bit of that after this. Okay, moving on. Ray Bot Customs, who was new to me, so I started following him after this.
He was one of the first people I saw from years ago. I think this might have been the key point where I considered trying to customize, because I'm like, how much would it cost to make like a Savage Dragon? And then he said the price. I'm like, I understand. I cannot afford that. So I'm going to learn how to do this. But I'm like, I'll never be able to do this. So I kind of like, I didn't give up, but it went on the back burner. So I don't think he put stuff on his Instagram that much anymore. Like originally he had just like a Figure Realm profile, but that site's riddled with just like pop-ups. But it's cool to see his like paint application. Like I love that She-Hulk.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. And the body is perfect compared with this Hulk, I think, size-wise.
Yeah.
What is it based on? 6-inch scales, because some resculpted body using
I think it was the
Marvel
the
Legends
one above
body?
it.
Oh, was it?
Which means he had to sand all those gene textures off.
Wow. I'll check that out.
Smooth it out.
There's sneakers. Check out the
sneakers. Yeah.
Damn. And the musculature is on point. Damn. Which one were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, I think the picture above it is what the starting point was.
My computer's mad at me now. Oh no.
It could handle all that She-Hulk.
Don't die. She-Hulk is too powerful for this stream.
And being a guest is he has to do the damage control, and I can just sit back and relax because normally I'm the one scrambling.
Dude, you're a champion is what you are. Man, so sorry about that, but that's fun. Are we good now? You can hear me?
I'm good. Do not load any other websites though.
Oh,
I don't want your computer to explode.
It's not so much that it's gonna look. I did it. Okay, let's try it because I want to tempt the fates. Okay. Loose Collector, another one that inspired you.
Yeah, before he showed up on like Big Bad Toy Store and stuff. Like I just remember just the custom phase of it.
I think his stuff is pretty cool. I have not bought a single Loose Collector figures, but his except for the Grey Wolf Morocco. That's the one I was referring to earlier.
Yeah,
where because of some of the issues that I've seen other people have, I was going to return, and then they're like, "Well, you already paid a deposit," and I was like, "Screw it, I'll take it."
Yeah, the figure looks great. Okay,
yeah,
you begrudgingly.
The figure looks great though. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, because I wanted it from the beginning because it looks fantastic. I was just concerned about joints. That said, before he did that stuff, and I'm amazed at what he's doing. Like, I'm not a big Liefeld fan, but those figures he's doing, look really good as figures. But before that, he was doing customs and some of the stuff that we're seeing here at the top. But I don't know. I think his stuff is great. And like anybody who's going to make these, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's a Thundar, the Barbarian villain. I think that's dope. no one's making those toys. So
I know. I'm just looking at his Adam Warlock and everything. Like this, see, this is cool stuff. When he wasn't, I don't want to say held back by licensing, but now he's focusing on his brand, and that's cool.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. Yeah, I totally respect that he's like making toys again, just like TNT Co. and Cursed Dead. I think it's cool. Do you have any?
No, I was on the fence on like Liberarte and like I don't know, the same thing as you, where you were. I don't know if you said you were concerned about the joints.
I was concerned after seeing people and even handling when my brother has the Dilim, which is like one of the variants of the figures, and the joints get real stuck. And I've seen
that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. But whatever, I'm down to invest and support in the one figure, and we'll sort of see where it goes from there. And they're just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
That said, it's like one better looking than a lot of the other like retail figs by like big companies that I've seen.
They did articulation that like Hasbro was struggling to like implement.
Yeah, and it was definitely She-Hulk's cake, 100%. It was good, like, but we were all stunned by it, man, including my computer. Yeah. Anyway, I think Loose Collectors stuff is dope too. And then this is one that I wasn't familiar with.
He does McFarlane Customs.
There are a couple of McFarlane like centric customizers, like G.I. Joe Customs is another one.
Yeah. That
I'm just blown away by what they can do with that base figure. And like, you can get them fairly cheap. So it's a smart sort of
like, I'm surprised I haven't tried it yet. Like they are cheap.
Mm-hmm. They can be real cheap.
I don't know. Right? I don't know like who I'd even make. Someone would have to just pick something at random to see if I could do it. He's always playing around with body types.
Yeah.
He made a Gambit.
And he's right. I mean, he's right to kind of point out, like, I changed the proportions because a lot of it is very stylized. Like he's got really tall, long legs. It's the legs.
Yeah.
Adam Van Winkle was saying this the other day. It's like literally if you look at them, you put the arms next to another figure, stand them next to the torso, everything's there for like closer to 112. The legs are just incredibly long.
Just like I don't know if someone just stretched them.
Yeah. So you see people like this kind of just chopping things up and trying to shorten them a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, I think this stuff is so cool. And it does make me kind of wonder what the McFarlane folks, how they respond to stuff like this. I hope they see it as definitely.
Well, the thing about him is like he's made changes to small things like the drifting eyes or whatever, the side eye. He's like, okay, you guys didn't like that, so I'll change it back. So they seem open to critiques. I just don't know how far they will let the crowd control what they do.
Sure. Plus the investment of like having to retool everything. But this stuff is cool. And I appreciate people who are doing a variety of stuff like this, right? Where am I going to get? What was that video game called? Raziel, but Legacy of Kain. Legacy of Kain? Yeah. This stuff is so cool, man. And if you got the skills like you and these other guys, like you could basically curate your shelf exactly the way that you want it to be. And I'm incredibly jealous of that. I think it's rad. So that's Shinigami Customs, and I should probably share this. I think we've got a couple more. Let's see. And last but not least, Inglorious Designs.
He's the one who did my Secret Santa one. So I appreciate them just for doing that.
Oh man, look at this. It's making me. I mean, I like.
You like yours though. Like yours.
I do.
Does the trick, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He hangs out with Animal Warriors of the Kingdom figures, and they're big too. And I just say he's like the human poser who's like wants to hang out with the cool kids and be a cat too.
Is he your favorite? Who is your favorite DC character? Is it Wildcat?
No.
Or do you just like him because he's one of your favorites?
Yeah, I like the old school. I like a lot of old school characters that I'm just more and more like I don't feel like they're gonna get a lot of attention. Like I don't think we're gonna see them in this way. So like same with New Gods. I love New Gods stuff. I've just been intrigued by the aesthetic of what Kirby did with the whole world.
Yeah.
I also like Masters of the Universe, and basically this is like a template for Masters of the Universe. A lot of the Mattel stuff early on, like they were working on.
I used to hate Orion, and he's one of the characters who, you know how before I'm like, oh, I need this guy. Like he's one of them now that I appreciate him. So I probably feel the way you used to feel about him now. I'm just catching up.
I mean, it literally was a template for like a lot what inspired Masters of the Universe, because Mattel folks who ended up working on Masters of the Universe were also influenced by Mattel was working on a New Gods line that got dropped.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of the early vehicles, like the Battle Ram, it's totally like, you can tell like they were looking at stuff from Apocalypse, because it's like
shot
the animal kind of like you see it. But you know, even Zodak is totally like Metron. But anyways, I like that stuff. I mean, I love Batman. I love, you know, Superman like has grown on me, but Superman is always like, I had the similar feelings about Superman the way I did about Leonardo.
Okay, I get it. Say no more. Say no more.
Right. Like, but at the end of the day, like, you know, I love Wonder Woman, different iterations of Wonder Woman, like the classics. Green Lantern, I was also sort of always stuck on. I always thought that Hal Jordan was just a cool looking, simple costume.
Yeah.
So I like DC stuff. I'm more of a Marvel guy for sure, but there's just some things that I'm into. So, but when I see all this stuff, I'm so just enamored by what people can do. What was the what was the name of the duck?
Oh, Ultra Duck, just a random like super. Yeah,
it's so cool. Anyway, man, I'm all about focus. You know, kind of focusing and putting some attention on a lot of these talented customizers like yourself. So I appreciate you introducing me to a bunch of new folks. I also appreciate you for like basically holding down the show. I heard you vamp in. You're like talking to folks, you know, going back and forth with 78 like a pro. Yeah. And that's because every week you do this, right? So tomorrow night, over on the Astonishing News and Reviews channel, you and Alvin get together and do this weekly. It's now called, you said, the ANR Geekly officially?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right.
Can you quickly just sort of share? I know you've joked around and you've said, I've heard you and Alvin talk about it, but for the folks here, how'd you end up becoming the regular co-host for so many weeks now on this show?
I met him. So Matthew did one of those toy things, the toy nights where we just order pizza. So I met him there. And then he's like, I really like collecting. I'm thinking of just going online and just talking to other people who enjoy toys, or like showing off my collections and stuff. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he's like, I just need someone to like help me come up with ideas behind the scenes. Like, yeah, okay, I'll do behind the scenes stuff. And then he started doing the show, and he's like, you know, I can't do this by myself because it's boring. I need someone to bounce ideas off of. Like, I'll stay for like 4 episodes because and then you can find another like person to help you, but I'll stick around until then. And then it's been like 2.5 years. So 2
years later,
I got tricked. But he's a fun dude. I like him a lot. Generous guy. He's nice. So,
can I ask what your hesitation was in the beginning?
I don't like talking to people. I'm not even gonna lie.
I've heard you say that. I've heard you say that. I don't like people. I don't like
being on camera. I don't like talking to people, but then I meet nice people. You're nice. KJ's nice. 78's nice. Like, they're always like, hey, do you want to come on? So I'm slowly just going on other people's shows. Pac Photos was nice. I went on his show.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, man, that's great. Like, I think
78's not wrong.
At the end of what did he say?
He's like, you can trick me into doing anything for free.
Yeah, just be nice. Just be nice.
I never said it was free. I never said it was free. There's some form of compensation.
I don't know if I don't know where you got that, because there's no compensation.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding around.
No, but like I appreciate the show. It is like, it definitely just feels like you guys just hanging out and talking, and I kind of like the breadth of stuff you do. And yeah, in many ways, like there's ideas and I'm just borrowing, and I was like, oh, I love it. And I love just hanging out, man. I love hanging out in the chat, and just kind of doing that back and forth. And then, you know, I love that you're really good at pivoting. Like, all of a sudden it became this whole thing of trying to convince Alvin about the world of anime. And you know,
still on that kick.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm glad that you challenged yourself and are here now. What, 200 some?
Yeah.
How many episodes now? 100 some
190,
episodes? 133?
195.
Oh, you're at 195. Okay, so
Yeah.
191-ish episodes later.
Yeah.
You're still there. You're still doing your thing, which is awesome. Every Monday, what time?
7:38 PST.
Okay, and here's I'll drop in the playlist directly to the show because there's actually a ton of awesome content on ANR. If you're into, I was mentioning earlier, like they did a Saturday morning cartoon one. There's stuff around gaming. There's stuff around, even like more media centric stuff.
They're hammering out the details because some people went back to school and whatnot, but they also do like the media stuff you just said. So sometimes it's Thursdays, other times it's they update you on social media at ANR Universe.
Check it out. Follow over there. I'll put all the links in, but man, thank you so much. Not only for obviously like basically holding the show together while technology couldn't withstand the power of the She-Hulk's body.
Elvin's favorite show, as 78 says.
What's that?
As Elvin's favorite show, as 78 put it.
Oh yeah, She-Hulk. No, yeah. I know that he liked that. In fact, I think I know he knows
Saboteur.
That I liked it. I know that he had such a hard, he struggled with me, I think in particular, saying that I enjoyed it. And so, but that's the nerd game, man. Like there's always going to be stuff that some people like, some people don't like. Going back to our conversation around everything from the Spider-Man to the Maximum line, or even like how long to wait for figures. Like everybody's got a different opinion. I appreciate you in particular for being so rational and thoughtful, man.
Oh, I try.
Yeah, like you said, oh, they're nice, so I jumped on. Like, dude, you're nice, and that's kind of a prerequisite for me inviting folks on too. I was like, hey, let's just hang out and talk. And so, man, I appreciate the opportunity to hang out. And I gotta say, also, I've been watching recently. Like you've mentioned the show a couple of times. You don't got to do that. And I appreciate it every single time you do, man. It's really, really feels good. And
I like your updates. So cool. I try to name drop when I can.
I appreciate that, man. Hey, I hope it was good. I hope it wasn't torture talking to a relative stranger for the first time and then having to take over the show and host.
No, it's all good. And the chat's cool too.
I was going back to folks,
Yeah,
we're all among friends, and this is the way it should be, folks. Collectors, nerds coming together, talking about fun stuff. So the next thing is going to be Monday, and then is there anything you want people to look out for in terms of customizing? And tease anything that you're working on? Or?
No teases yet. People just throw me ideas. I'll try to make them.
Nice.
Sometimes I'm going to start doing giveaways too, just because I can't keep everything. So I need to keep busy. Otherwise, I go stir crazy. So I'm thinking of just randomly making stuff for people and what I can.
Nice. Yeah. So look out for on Mondays or on social media for that?
On social media.
Okay. Check out dvon.art. And again, all those links will be up after we actually end the show. Yeah, man, I can't say enough. Thank you so much for hanging out. Yep. So chat, thank you all for being awesome. And for engaging with Dee while my technology collapsed because of the She-Hulk. All right, folks. I hope everybody has a great week. I hope everybody tries to stay positive. Things are kind of nutty out there, so enjoy the toys, find joy, all of those things. Cool.
Thanks for having me.
I think that's it. Yeah, for sure, man. You're absolutely welcome. Peace, power, all the things. Oh, I guess normally like I try and pretend like I'm pro. Here's how unpro I am. So this is where like I will end the show in theory by playing music, and let's see if it works. It's gonna fall apart. I will click this. Ooh. Everybody, and then I put this on. But the eagle-eyed viewers will know that none of the information that's on the screen right now is appropriate for this episode.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, that's how we do. But anyways, I hope everybody has a good week. Go watch Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and tell me why I am wrong. See ya.